Hello everybody, glad to have you all here with me today. By the way guys, I'm feeling a little bit better, okay? The dizziness is still there, but this takes weeks to go away sometimes. But anyway, today we had a great day. My son Jeremy brought Nathan over for the annual Kensington, Maryland Model Train Show. And it's held at our local armory, and it was great. It's the same club that comes over every year. We had a Dixieland band playing there. Boy Scouts were selling hot dogs and other goodies outside. Overall, a great day. And then he went home with his uncle. And then we proceeded to go over to Mama Lucia's for little spaghetti and meatballs. We are now back. Tonight we have some very interesting things to discuss. I hope you guys find these little topics especially one particular topic, should be very valuable for you P800 users. I'm sure that if you saw my video that I posted, I believe I did that last night, kind of late, it should spark some interest. As you guys know, those printers are locked, and there are many other printers that are supposedly locked, and this will render them chipless. How about that? Too good to be true? Most of the time it is too good to be true, but apparently this is actually working. And if you guys have been looking on eBay for like XP or expression models of some of the Epson printers, especially those that are already rigged up for sublimation printing, you will see that they have a magical little term attached to them. Chipless. Yes. I hope everyone can hear me. Not listen. Can hear me. This is on, I believe. Got a steady red light. I got a good level indicator over here. So let's go ahead and begin by saying howdy to everyone that decided to hang with us tonight. We have the first person who was here quite early, H2300SD. He didn't say where he was from, but anyway, glad to have you. We got 15 people already on board. And make sure you hit that like button, okay? Make sure you do that. If you don't, I don't know why. You have to like me, right? Yeah, I think so. I'm a likable guy. Sometimes I say it like it is, but I think you guys probably appreciate that from me. I don't sugarcoat anything. Especially I don't mislead anyone. Anthony Petit says, any tips on reducing paper skew on Epson rear paper tray? And by that I suppose you mean the manual feeder, right? It relies on rollers, and it relies on a sensor to determine that it detects the edge or the front leading edge of a piece of paper. And often when one example that could cause problems is when people try to print a panorama on one of these Epson printers, or even a Canon printer, it doesn't matter. And they cut, say, a piece of paper. In this case, what was the printer? Doesn't say. So we'll just pick the P800 since we're going to be talking about that later. I cut a piece of paper out of a roll, and it's 17 by 37, whatever. And I fit it in the back, and I wiggle it around, and I sort of can feel something being sensed. And the way that happens, if you open up the lid so that you can look down and be able to visually see that platen, you will see that once the edge is detected, it automatically starts to roll it forward. Think about this. Any error in fitting, and we don't have really great guides on the right side. We don't. It's just a little tab that you slide to the, all the way to the right. You're relying on that paper, that holder in the back that opens up. A slight angle introduced by you will be magnified every inch of travel. And if it's in the wrong direction, you'll start getting one heck of a jam. If it's in the opposite direction, it'll keep on feeding, but it won't be straight. So there's nothing physically in the printers to prevent you from doing that. So it's kind of a thing that you have to very, very carefully address when you're using that particular feeder, especially in the back. It's really not much of a guide in most of these Epson printers. So, make sure that if you are cutting from a roll, you use something really, really good like a rotor trim or some of the other trimmers that have a really good right angle guide so that your cut is exactly 90 degrees from the factory edge of that piece of paper. Now, if you're using cut paper, it should be straight. But again, don't count on it. Don't count on it being straight. I always check these so-called, 13 by 19, whatever. I always check them on my trimmer to make sure that the leading edge comes up. When I push it over to where the cutter would cut, I don't want to have one end sticking beyond that, the steel edge. If that's the case, that paper is not cut at 90 degrees, okay, even from the factory. So you got to make sure that, you not only feed it as straight as possible. Often what will happen, especially when you're feeding a roll, is that it's going to advance it several inches. The P800 will do that. Other printers that have kind of pseudo roll adapters will not do that. But the P800 is meant for roll printing, and other printers that have roll capabilities will do that. They will feed the paper forward, and it will then sense that edge. That edge better not change, okay? As it is feeding forward, backwards. It'll do that quite a number of times, and it will then read to make sure that edge position never changes. When it accepts that, it says it's good, then you get the go ahead. If it is not, you get the skewed error report, okay? Printers that don't have that sensing capability will allow you to load it crooked, and it doesn't care. It doesn't care what the results are. So just be careful. This is a visual thing you have to kind of do yourself. It's not something that is, set up so that you can line up a piece of paper flawlessly without any kind of, from your end, in other words. Cliff Medina is here. Cliff, brother, we've been having troubles emailing each other. I have replied to you several times. I don't know what's going on. Don't assume that I have been ignoring you. Absolutely not. I have been emailing you back with everything, and I have been enjoying the video clips that you have been sending me from your drone flying. So again, I have been answering to you. So Harold Goldberg is here from Richmond, Virginia. Rick Johnson from the West Coast, and he says, he's the Pro 100 refill guru, and yes, he is. 82300 SD from California. Kyle Johnson from Chicago. George Gabb from Texas. Only 95 over there today. Today it was like 78. It was awesome. 78 and a little bit too breezy for me to go out, but we had such a busy day that we didn't do any kind of flying. Nathan told me, Grandpa, you should have brought your drone. I said, why? There's a crowd of people here. I cannot fly over people. I told him, especially in this very dense little town that we live in, you got to go out, right? So got to keep that boy educated, but he's very aware of what Grandpa likes to do and supports his grandpa a bit. John Fletcher from Nottingham, England is here. And 82300 says you can hear me loud and clear. That's good. We don't want any audio problems tonight. And let's see, Robert Lacomte from Atlanta. Dashila Brown from Georgia. We have a lady. I believe that's a lady. Yes. Welcome. We need more ladies in here. We do. This is not a men's club. Hold on a second. I love my answering machine tells me when it's a spam call. But I really need to get a blocker because this is a daily nuisance. Anyway, we'll let that ring. It'll be answered now. And of course, I won't not leave a message because it's a robocall. Anyway, Richard Park says, Dorian is gone, even got power back about noon today, Charleston, South Carolina. So which way did it go? Did it go out to sea? I haven't been keeping track the last couple of days. Once it kind of ignored Puerto Rico and Florida. That's where I have family. And so, I'm glad that it did not cause any great damage. Let's see. Cliff Fit from Denmark. Spike 597 from Madison, Wisconsin. Eli is here. And Lauren Marmer is here. Another lady, I believe. We got 2 ladies. Yay! We need more ladies here. There should be a what do you call that? Not a fraternity, not a sorority, but a community involving everybody. If you remove, she said, if you remove, this is Lauren, if you remove a half-filled ink cart from the Pro 100 and replace it with another cart, do you have to reset the first one if you put it back later? No. Think about it. It's just plain logic. If you take out a cartridge that reads 50% and indeed it has 50% worth of ink, don't you want it to reflect that amount of ink when you return it? Right? So only when you refill that cart back to full. If you want to top that cart off to full, then go ahead and set it back to full reset and then top it off. Don't reset it and not top it off. That would be bad. Okay? Don't top it off and not reset it. It's gotta be kind of a match. They have to, coincide to each other. The levels reported by the chip should be the same as the actual physical levels of the ink in the cartridge. So yes, you can take that cartridge out, and that happens on any printer, the Pro 1000. I can take, if I was fully OEM at this point, which I'm not, I'm running on those so-called permanent chips, yet to be tested by me. If I was doing OEM only, and for some odd reason, I felt like removing a cart at 50% and put another full one, and then again, for some odd reason, I decided to take that cartridge out, the one that's still full, and pop my 50% one, it will recognize it because it's looking for those 2 different ID code numbers for, say, magenta. And it will accept it, and it will say, you're showing a higher ink level or less ink level, but I recognize that that is the correct ID code for that cartridge that was 50%. And if I take that one out again and I put that full one in there, it will all of a sudden see a full cartridge and go, wait a minute, let me check the ID number. Oh, okay, this is okay. I already have it recorded that this ID number was full. What you cannot possibly have is a situation where a cartridge with the same ID number for magenta all of a sudden reads at a higher level than it was when it last saw it, when it last had it inserted into the compartment. If you remove that in some way, shape, or form, you can reset it. It will reject it because it will see it as the same cartridge, the same chip. Not cartridge necessarily, but the same chip. So it expects to see the same chip ID at the previous level it was at, and not at a higher level. Okay. Lots of tricks. This is getting very, very tricky, folks. Let me tell you. Okay. Maybe I told you guys last week. Speaking of the trickiness, if you will, of these electronic chips or so-called cartridge chips. But hold on 1 second. Jeff Thompson says, you can reset them many times. Yes, you can. And she wanted to also know, reset the first one. If you put it back in again, is there any negative effect if you reset it twice? Again, only reset them when you fill them up to full. If you do not reset them, you want to, for some whatever the reason, swap chips, yellow cartridges, then if you haven't refilled them, then don't change the ink level on the chip. Don't reset it. Only reset it if you fill it back up to full. Now, how many times can you reset it? No one has been able to figure that out. Okay, no one. No one really has a number or whether these chips have some kind of finite number of resets that you can possibly perform on them. No one knows. 100 times? Oh, heck yeah. Will you do it 100 times? Probably not. You'll probably switch over to another set of cartridges and begin again. Your printer may be, RIP by then. Okay. It all depends on your volume of printing, whether you may or may not, end up resetting that cartridge, say 100 times. If that happens to be the limit, which we don't know. Now, to kind of shed some light in this, I don't like to give you, opinions, something that's not proven or has not been shown to me. There's a small company, maybe 5, 6, 7 people, that mass print like old expired patents. They look like blueprints, and they sell those either on eBay or Amazon, I want to say. They have, get this, I know you'll be shocked, 100 on the average per 100s. They buy Precision Colors inks by the gallons, okay? And they refill their cartridges dozens and dozens of times, okay? There are certain cartridges, the 2 cartridges on the far right on the printhead, for some reason, will start to show flow problems after about 50 refills, whereas the other colors, 100 refills easily before they are processed again. By processing, I mean they flush them out, dry them out, treat them with a rejuvenation fluid, which kind of, it's like an emollient solution, very, very low percentage. It's glycerol with alcohol and water. And then those are flushed out again, and then let dry, and then they are refilled. So they have probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cartridges that they're constantly, turnaround, okay? They have people that can refill a cartridge in about 10 seconds, okay? So reset, fill, reset, fill, reset, fill. And they have always, sets of cartridges at the ready. So if they can do 100 resets and maybe even more before they have to finally say, okay, this cart has had it, that will exceed more than I will ever, need to do in my situation here with my Pro 100. Probably, maybe Eli prints a lot more than I do, and he does. So he might probably end up having to, to refurbish his cartridges unless he buys a new set, a lot sooner than I would, because I don't print as much as he does. So, and others that do, again, it's all in the, the proportion of your printing. And, but yeah, the chips are resettable over and over and over again. Make sure you use the correct resetter, the one that has a USB power connector, because that gives you the constant voltage that you need to send that data to the chip in one continuous stream. The ones that use those big, 22, 32 brown flat batteries, those are terrible, because often by the time you get that resetter, it's been sitting in a warehouse for months. I don't trust that battery, okay? So a low voltage battery, or one that is not up to the correct operating voltage, can cause damage that will permanently fry your chip, and then you have to go get another cartridge. You don't want to do that unnecessarily. So, long story short, yeah, you could do that as many times as you need to, the resetting. Now, going back to what I spoke with Mike Lee from Precision Colors about, and again, I don't remember whether I discussed that last week, but here goes anyway. A very common, I think it's like a 4-color, maybe possibly 5-color Epson printer. Just a little Epson, do-it-all desktop model that you buy for like $80. You end up paying more for the subsequent cartridges, and they come in different sizes. Can you believe that? And so he had chips, previous batch of chips come from China, and those chips were working fine. he sold them all out, and he got a new batch with which he's going to replace, that inventory with. And he noticed on the chip it says V2, version 2. So they must have performed some kind of upgrade in the coding. He put them on his printer. He did one cartridge, and the printer all of a sudden wouldn't recognize the other cartridges. It blanked them all out. Wow, what's going on? So here's the deal. Maybe those chips will work for whatever the version firmware, these new models, the same model, but new of that model being sold with an upgraded firmware. Maybe those chips will work with that. They certainly do not work with his older, same model, but with an older firmware. Do you believe that? So he just denied denied the presence of all the other cartridges. Yeah. So again, these chips are really tricky, and it's going to get trickier, because say goodbye to auto reset chips. No more. That's the end of the game for auto reset chips, according to him. Okay? And he deals directly with these factories. So it's so good that he can speak Chinese to them. He's got the language. So, but yeah, it's going to be hard. The only option that they can possibly come up with are single-use chips. And what a pain in the butt that would be. Imagine, on an Epson, you can do a refillable cartridge. So they make a refillable body. You have to refill it, and every single time you got to put a new chip on it. Just like the Pro 1000, except with the Pro 1000, you got 80 ml of ink to go through before you have to worry about that. And it might cost you $12 instead of about $3 for like a 13 ml cartridge, volume-wise. And refillables, even if the chip is, like rated for or programmed for, say, 13, you may only be able to use 10. So what happens is that the chip thinks that the cartridge has ink, and the cartridge runs out of ink before the chip runs out of ink. You end up with a empty cartridge, the priming is gone, and now you got air in your printhead. So pain in the butt. It's going to be hard. It's going to be more difficult. It's not going to be as easy as, say, an auto reset chip. If you're lucky enough to have a printer with auto reset chips, those are a lot easier, because, say for instance, older printers like a Stylus Photo 1400, okay, or R1400, I think it was an R. So auto reset chips work this way with that printer, and I got a set of them right now on that very printer with the V6 something or other. The new inks at Precision Colors is now selling for that family of printers. This is Epson 6-color dye ink printers. You print, and you print, and you print, and your ink levels start to drop. When they reaches empty condition by the chip, your cartridge is not recognized. You remove it. Hopefully you still have ink in there, but more than likely you will have gone empty long before that. Okay, so the idea, the trick is to keep them topped off. You can top them off in the printer itself, because they have a fill plug you can remove. Okay, add some ink. Make sure that it's always above empty, so you don't lose that prime. So when the chip says, hey, I'm empty, you still have ink in the cartridge. That's the trick. That is the secret to success with these types of cartridge. Do not ever assume that the chip is going to, what it's programmed for volume-wise, is going to match how much ink you can actually pack in one of those refillable cartridges. It's always going to be a discrepancy. Okay? Always. So make sure you top those cartridges up. Okay? And then you won't have any problems. When it's declared empty, no problem. You still have ink in the cart. You remove it. When you remove it, you disrupt power to the chip. Top it off. You pop it back in. You reintroduce power to the chip, and it resets it to full. And the reason it can do that, unlike the P800, is that it doesn't care that it sees the same color ID number. That's the secret. And that's what Epson can lock, if it wants to, on any region printer in the world. they can lock them all if they felt like it. Okay. Yes. Alrighty. Rick Johnson says, yes, you can reset the first one and no effect on the chip. Huh? Yeah, no effect, no detrimental effect. Reset over and over, no harm to it. Eli says, barely even rain here from Dorian, even though we were expecting to get 3 to 4 inches. Yeah, you're in North Carolina, so you guys got spared, and that's wonderful. Richard Park says, I went north along the coast, made landfall on North Carolina. Jeff Johnson says, hi from Louisiana. Eli says, ended up going slightly more west and hit the Outer Banks area of North Carolina, I believe. So they're talking about Dorian. Rick Johnson says, but if will reflect the correct ink level the moment the printer examines it. Yeah. That's the idea. You want to reflect the actual ink level. So you want, if your cartridge, when you removed it, the chip says it was at a certain level, don't fill it unless you reset it. Okay. And don't reset it unless you fill it. Okay. If you don't want to do anything, don't do anything. When you pop it back in, it will be at the same level it was when you removed it, and the chip will reflect that same level as well. Imagine your gas tank that holds 15 gallons, and your gauge said you had a quarter tank, but the gas tank was actually empty. That's what we're talking about here. Alrighty. Eli says, I've never had to change my cards yet. They don't look the same as they used to, but they are still working fine. Yeah. You will start to see more little tiny, looks like little specks of white. That's air in the sponge. And at some point, when that gets to be excessive, and maybe you noticed a little bit of disruption in ink flow, then it's time to flush and begin again. And that's what that company that I was talking about does. They have people that just do that. Okay. They print day and night, nonstop. When a printer dies, out it goes, new one is purchased, because they make a lot of money doing this. I don't know how. I wish I was part of it. But anyway, good for them. Melvin Key from Tomball, Texas. We got a lot of Texans today. Art Tech N. Good evening from West Texas. Eli says, well, we got spared where we are in North Carolina. An island off the coast, popular beach area, got destroyed and the people were trapped there. Oh man, that's terrible. Yolanda Rowe is here. Another woman. Yes, lady. Not woman, lady. Sorry, I apologize. Another lady here from Western Tennessee. Awesome. Alrighty. Okay, that's it with the chat. Let's go ahead and get to the nitty-gritty here, the subject of this tonight's live stream. We're going to talk about the P800. What the heck can we do with the P800, especially if you live in North America? You have several possible choices. You got a good friend someplace in a country that does not have a printer locked. Okay, maybe Europe, maybe the Orient, but North America or South America even. And then, of course, they have to be able to get that printer delivered to them. And then you bring it over. Oh, impossible, right? That would be one option, okay? And that printer would be zoned someplace else, not North America. And you would be able to load refillable cartridges. And when one of them is empty by the chip, you get an error. You get a little red X, and then you just remove it, fill it, pop it back in, and it's back to full. Because that firmware, that's the magic right there. And it's not necessarily, apparently it's not necessarily something embedded in the EEPROM chip of the motherboard. Okay? Apparently it's all about firmware. We're going to talk about that. So, when it sees that same cartridge color ID because it's the same chip. And all of a sudden, the chip is reporting that it's full. It will not get angry. It will just go, oh, well, what a coincidence. I'll let it go. And it will let it go over and over and over again. Not so in the USA, not so in Canada. And surprisingly, for those of you in Mexico, if there's anybody here from Mexico, Mexico is part of North America. So they included Mexico as well. So I had a couple of folks from Mexico who were just now going nuts. What happened? What am I going to do? Well, not much. Not much you can do at this point. Now, unless you do this. See that? See how I led you into this? Unless you do this. And I'm not going to even suggest that $400 decoder board. Okay, that's just too much money. I did not pay for mine. I got mine as a gift from Ink Owl for me to test and do videos on, which I did. They're not reliable. I went through a total of 3 different boards before one actually worked. They had to then return those to China, get a credit for new boards or whatever. And they don't test them. Okay, when you get them, they don't test them. How are they going to test them? Okay, if they test them and they find that they work, they've already wasted one of those reset key sets. They have 30 ID numbers in each one of those 9 chips that are embedded as part of that board. Okay, so you test it, you just blew one set of those. Now you're down to 29. So that's why you're the tester, not them. Okay, so apparently the QC is, or quality control, assurance, whatever, is not that great because 1 out of 3 is really not a good ratio of success. So what can you do? What else can you do? Well, somebody in Europe decided, well, why don't we just start shipping European motherboards? Oh, good Lord, that would be, that's an assembly process that you would have to tear into your printer. And if you're brave enough to do that, by all means. In fact, installing the board causes you to dismantle the rear cover of the printer, detach the motherboard slightly so you can bring it out a bit so you can then access all of those flat cables. And you got to remove all sorts of stuff before you can get to it. Anyway, again, if you can get it to work, fine. If you have slender fingers, great. If you have fat little short fingers like me, not so easy. Okay. Now, so what can you do? Firmware. Okay, it's all about firmware. Company called Chipless Solution, and they've been around for a while now. But they are providing firmwares for a multitude of Epson printers. And when you go to eBay and you buy a chipless Epson printer for sublimation work, you can bet your bottom dollar that it's already been converted to a chipless condition. And that means not that you see nothing on your ink indicators, your ink channels indicators. It's not that. You will see always full. Okay. So depending on your printer, you better be set and committed to constantly checking your ink levels, especially if you print a lot. So you have to visually maintain your ink levels. On a printer with a sys unit, that would be tremendous. Imagine a sys unit that never has to be reset. Okay, think about it. A 1400, for instance. Say the 1400 was locked. I had a sys working on it. It worked flawlessly. I have a sys on my Workforce 1100 that I sublimate on. Again, the only problem with those is every time a chip is empty, that just means that it recorded that a certain number of milliliters of ink passed through that channel. And so if it thinks that you have cartridges, you see, and so it'll just declare that channel empty. And then you just have to set the printer to exchange position, blah, 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 press a button on your set of chips, the chipboard on your sys unit, and it will reset whatever color was, declare empty back to full. That's how those work. Now, on a sys unit, on a chipless printer, you're always reading full. So guess what? Guess where those tanks sit? Outside. They sit outside and they're perfectly clear. So you can see at any time of the day or night how much ink you actually have in one of these compartments. And it's a simple matter of either with a syringe, a big fat syringe with a needle, or a little funnel, whatever. It depends on the type of sys unit. You just keep replenishing those chambers, if you will, full of ink. That's paradise. That's the perfect world. Okay, no ink reporting. The ink always stays full. It never drops, and all you have to do is keep replenishing those external compartments. Now, let's talk about the most troublesome one, the P800. They got it for the P800, the P600, and the P400, and a myriad of other models. But those are primarily the top three so-called desktop Epson models. Although the 600 and the 400 are not locked, but still, wouldn't you like to just have to just top off and you're good to go? It never goes empty. So here's what you need to do. And let's jump over to the screen. We're going to go ahead. I have everything open here, ready to go, I believe. Let me make sure that that is actually true. Let me minimize that. Minimize this. We got 31 people. So here it is. Chip solution. Okay. So, and specifically for the Epson SC or SureColor P800. So it gives you the instructions, what you need to do in order to get this printer ready to be, I want to say, downgraded, if you will, or upgraded, or side, graded, whatever you want to call it, with this new firmware. So these are the instructions. If you want to make this happen, you need to contact Chip Solutions. So let's go ahead and minimize that for now. Here's the website for Chip Solutions. So this is a text, like a Word file that they provide you. So you go to www.chiplesssolutions.com, download the firmware from them. Okay, you don't have to pay anything at this point. Update printer's firmware by downloaded firmware. Run license exe utility. Enter activation key and finish chipless process. So that activation key is probably going to cost you about $60, I believe it is. Maybe up to $70. So that's what's going to activate the, I guess, upgrading of your printer. Without that key, you cannot do this. So for each printer model, you have to follow the manual for specific printer model. Download manuals here. So you can download manuals as well. Buy activation keys here. For your regular, maybe not so sophisticated models, it may not be, as high as $60. So everything can be found right here. And you can join the forum and discuss, before you bite the bullet and do this, discuss whatever model you plan to update with other members. So let's just quickly kind of check out what they have. And we'll open up Chrome. We'll enter the URL, hit enter. And again, if I was not, let me give you this again. If I was not already using the decoder board, I would jump and do this. Okay? Simple as that. So here's the main page. Very simple opener. Again, main page right there. That's it. We're there. And then supported models. And you can see all of the models that are supported and all of the models that require, in other words, it says require firmware key, one use, and you need to use the WIC reset tool, the WIC-EXE, or require activation key, license for one printer, license EXE. So again, it just depends. So now our beloved P800 is you're not going to use the wick tool. You're going to do it directly in the printer itself and from your computer, and it is supported. So that's what you want to do. And then download the firmware and buy the activation key. Simple. Right there's the download firmware, download the manual, and buy the key. And let's see how much that key is. Come on now. There we go. $60. So that's how much it'll cost you to update that printer. Now, once you do that, you follow the instructions that I showed you earlier. And again, they're a little bit lengthy and there's several steps, but this is what you end up on. This is an actual photograph my friend who sent me this information just took. He's got refillable cartridges. Notice that only the first 3 are installed, and one of these happens to be an OEM cartridge, by the way. Remember, you can actually modify your cartridges for refilling, including the OEM. So you can either use refillables, which to me is easier at this point, since you can actually see the levels of ink that are inside. But this is the important part, folks. This is where it gets really interesting. Even with the ink cartridge cover open, okay, you have a full indication. Normally what happens when you have the ink cartridge cover open, this is blank, okay? You just have a lot of like little excess on here, like nothing is showing. And as you can see, that's not the case. So he's showing me here that apparently this works. Now, I'm going to ask Precision Colors to, do that to their P800 because they're not running a decoder board. I don't believe on it. So I don't really want to get back and dig into my P800. To do this, I'm going to leave it to others who have done it and who have found it to work. That's all I'm going to say at this point. But apparently it works, and it's only a $60 solution to that huge, and I mean huge, problem. Now, do you want to ever update your firmware after that? Absolutely not. Do not. Okay? Please do not ever install auto updaters. And sometimes when you go to the Epson side or the Canon side, go to driver support and download the whole package. It'll be, instead of being like a 15 megabyte file for just the firmware, it'll be like a 70 megabyte file. And it'll do all kinds of multi-functions, install all this unwanted software and all sorts of things, including an auto updater that may update your printer's firmware in the middle of the night on you. So don't do that. What do you guys think? Let me know here, right now. What do you guys think? Do you think this is worth doing? If you have a P800 and you print photos for sale, then yeah, just continue using OEM. You should be making enough money per print to warrant the use of, $60 a cartridge times 9. It's not as bad as the the Pro 1000. That's 12 cartridges. Okay, 11 of them being about $60, and the Chrome Optimizer, I believe, is a few dollars less. But still, if you're printing for sale, OEM. So this does not concern you, if you will. You wouldn't be looking for a cheap way out, if you will. You want to provide your customers with the best product. That's just my internal feeling, okay? I wouldn't want to buy something from someone and pay them good money, and then it turns out to be done with Precision Colors inks. As much as I love them, they're still third-party inks, okay? Keep that in mind. So let me know what you guys think. It seems like it is a simple process, okay? Let me see if I still have that open. I got to open the, this one here. This is it. So these are the instructions. Let's jump over to the screen again. Connect your printer to PC by proper USB cable. So this will not work on a router or some kind of a Cat6 cable, network cable. It has to be by basically by USB only. Okay, ink cartridges and printer drivers are not required. Okay, wow. Okay, let's go step by step over this. Power off the printer, and no more than 1 minute and no more than 1 minute. Then in 1 minute, press and hold buttons: the back button, the home button, and the power button. Right here, all three of those buttons you will hold for 3 to 5 seconds, and then release the back button, which is this one here with the little back arrow. Then release the other two buttons. When the printer go in firmware update mode, you will see white text, firmware update mode. If text is red color, it is the wrong mode. Try once more. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's not like 100% guaranteed. I promise you, you will not screw this up. Okay, you just got to keep doing this until you get that white text. But see how it's big letters, firmware update mode. Once you achieve that, upload the firmware to the printer. Run your epfwupd.exe file and follow all steps until the firmware will upload in printer. When the firmware's update is completed, confirm that the new firmware version is displayed on the LCD. Press power, printer will turn off. That's what you will see. Switch on the printer, run the license.exe file, select language, select printer model, right there, see that? And then activate online button, enter the activation key that you will be provided. That's what you will pay $60 for. Of course, it's not going to be this one. Okay, don't get happy like you're getting a free code. It's not going to be that one. You enter it, activate online, enter it, okay, activate online, copy and save recovery code. This will be, I guess, a code that you will be provided. It will be required if printer will update firmware from Epson server and you wish to restore chipless firmware in your printer. That's what I'm talking about. Don't ever let the server update your software for you, your firmware for you automatically. To restore chipless firmware, paste saved code to recovery code window and hit recover button. Okay, and this will be your saved, an example of a saved code. So it seems like something that will work. Okay, it just seems like there will be no problem. Again, I'm going to ask Precision Colors if they want to go ahead and proceed to do this. It should be very affordable, and it beats the heck out of $400. Okay, it does, and will bring that printer to print as much as you want, my friend, with whatever inks you want, with whatever setup, whether you modify your P800 cartridges or not, whether you use refillables or not, doesn't matter. You can have the door open. You can have those shotgun type cartridges sticking out. Yeah, those big volume cartridges. I don't recommend those, but you know what I mean. So again, it will not be reading your chips anymore except for color ID. It still needs to know where magenta is, where yellow is, where cyan is, and so forth. Interesting, right? I think so. I may go ahead and download the software just to see what it's all about. Okie doke. Now, one more thing that was discussed with me the other day. Oh, we're going to talk about this a little bit later. Somebody wanted to know about the photo shooting capabilities of the Parrot and Afi, and I will discuss that at the end of the live stream because I don't want to, make people leave because they're, oh, Joe's talking about drones again. No, I'm talking about photography that happens to be shot by a drone with a camera. So it still kind of pertains to our subject matter here. But anyway, we'll leave that to the end. I think I lost what I wanted to talk about, but basically was this. People who are going to send out to have a profile made, okay, by whomever for them. Okay, let's just say they don't have the capabilities of owning one of these or one of these. Okay, this is the Color Monkey photo, the old one, now replaced by the i1 Studio, which is basically the same thing, upgraded firmware, and upgraded software with more capabilities and a different color chassis. If you have one of these, you can actually use the new software for the i1 Studio and still use your old Color Monkey. It just cannot be registered, but it will still link to it and allow you to then enjoy the new features of the new software. The calibration for your monitor is actually a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more involved, and I think even the charts that you print a little bit different as well. If you want to have, now here's an example. So Pro 10, no, I'm sorry, not Pro 10, Pro 100 Precision Colors Signature Edition inks. Let me double check. Yep, I don't see any gloss differential because the Pro 10 uses Chrome Optimizer. So at least in my view right here, I don't know about these conditions here in this video, this is neutral. That electron microscope scanning, electron microscope image is neutral. My black, let me get my orientation right. My black to white band is neutral, or ramp is neutral. It is linear. It's not changing hue as it goes along from dark all the way to white. That is it. Once you achieve that perfect neutrality of something that is supposed to be neutral to begin with, that's it. That's all you need to achieve. Now, you see your first step as black, and then the next step, which is just a tiny bit lighter, you can actually tell it's there. Okay, these last several steps are not just clumped into one black area. You have a distinction. You get that by clicking on black point compensation. Okay, don't forget to do that. Okay, it will almost prevent the blocking up of the last several steps from black all the way to white. Okay, do that. Now, these patches right here, again, they're neutral. That is it. Now, the next thing that you need to achieve is at the correct brightness. Okay, so the fact that I did not block, my number 2 step tells me that it must be the correct brightness at that end, and the fact that I did not block my 254, 253, 255 is paper white, 253 is like almost white, and I can see 253. Okay, if I can see both ranges, in other words, I didn't lose anything at either extreme end of from 0 to 255, that means that, guess what? This print is perfect. Okay, it is the correct density, not too light, not too dark, and because this is neutral, it's neutral, so all of the color images look correct. Let me get the reflections out. Okay, they look correct. So now you got a new printer, a different printer. That's the Pro 100. So now let's jump over to the P800 with, I want to say it's OEM, but basically what I did was I grabbed some large format cartridges. In fact, they were setup cartridges for one of the larger SureColor printers from Epson. I got them for a fantastic deal on eBay, brand spanking new, never used. Okay, and I harvested those inks, the ones that matched the colors of my P800, and I loaded them into my refillable cartridges. Again, this is before my decoder board, by the way. Ran enough cleaning cycles to clean out the existing whatever I had there before. I think it was Precision Colors PC whatever HD something. Anyway, PCK3 HD. So that was the inks that they developed for the P800 before they realized that the P800 could not be reset. Okay, so And so I used a different image, and one that's interesting as well. I have this available in my Facebook group. It's basically the same thing. They just took out all of the images and rearranged them. And so this is a nice big old print. But the key right here is this ramp right here again. And it's got a color checker passport, by the way. You can check that against your actual color checker passport to determine how accurate those colors are. Okay? Against your original, real color checker passport card. Baby skins. Okay? Flesh tones. Again, this is it. This is what you need to achieve. And it is not too bright. It is not too dark. Okay? How do I do this? How did I do this? Well, because these are, you know, papers. I think that was Pro Luster from Epson, or Premium Luster something or other from Epson, photo paper luster. And then the other one was Pro Luster for Canon. So one Canon, one Epson printer. And inks that are not necessarily OEM, because I don't know if the P800 inks match those ones for those other Sure Color printers. I really don't know. I just figured OEM, I'll use them. And so far, so good. I did a profile. Okay. That's what will tweak any kind of slight mismatch. Will bring it back home, if you will, and give you that type of results. If you can produce that perfect standard image result, boy, how many times have I said this? I forget. It's just an everyday thing. If you can produce this, okay, in this case using a custom profile, okay, or this, and in this case I think I didn't even use a profile. I think this is signature edition with OEM settings. Probably let the driver do it by itself. If you can get that kind of result from those types of standard evaluation images, why are you still getting magenta prints or dark prints or this and that prints? They should be perfect. So that lands smack on your monitor calibration. That's where the error lies. So if I go back, okay, and I open up either one of these images here on my monitor, let me get this lined up. There you go. Each and one of these images on my monitor, and I go and look at them, say like this. I mean, I light this up over here, and I look at my monitor, and I glance back and forth, and by golly, it matches. My monitor is not a different color balance. It matches the neutrality to this print, and it's the correct brightness. It doesn't look too bright. It doesn't look too dark. My eyes are glassy. Anyway, so if you achieve that, and that's all done by calibration, not by eyeballs, by one of those units. If you achieve that match, that is it. Then whatever you edit, you can trust. If it doesn't match, like today, somebody's editing I believe it was a Mac 27-inch monitor with a spider or something or other. And the result is just blue. Okay, the monitor is so cold that everything looks bluish on it. See what I mean? That's wrong. Neutrality. Neutrality. As long as your red, green, blue little pixels, phosphors they call them, are able to create a linear curve, not like this, but like that, as they go from nothing to the brightest. That means they're not changing hue as they get brighter. RGB here, RGB here, RGB here, RGB here, and so on. Everything looks gray. No hue changes, linear. Then red, 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 and everything looks linear, and so forth. That's what calibration does. That's what is actually performing, is linearizing red, green, blue, and every combination thereof. Okay? Okay? So once you achieve that, then, and you have it at the right color temperature, so that screen doesn't look bluish compared to this, which is neutral, or that screen doesn't look warmish compared to this, which is neutral. That screen should be neutral. This should be neutral. This will be neutral, believe me. If your printer is working, those factories calibrate those printers pretty darn close. Okay, so printing one of these standard images, especially with OEM ink, when you first start off, this is what you gotta do. You gotta load this image and print. After you install your cartridges in the Canon printers, your print head and cartridges and all of that stuff, and you've checked your nozzles, make sure they're all firing, you do a head alignment, don't do anything else until you load this image and you print it. When you load this image and print it, and you get this, you're good to go. Sorry, this, you're good to go. Okay? Now you know that your printer is putting out the correct version of that image. Okay? Now you got to make your monitor match that. That's it. That's it. When I tune a piano or a guitar and I have a tuning fork, I strike it, I get that C, middle C. And I go to my piano and I hit middle C. And it doesn't sound the same. I don't assume that my piano is correct and the tuning fork is not. Oh no, the tuning fork is correct. Believe me, the standard image is correct. Believe me. So what you got to do is you got to tune that middle C set of 3 strings on your piano until they match this. Okay, so that's what you got to do. You got to get your monitor calibrated properly. In the case of that person with the bluish result, he's probably up at 7,000 Kelvin, maybe 7,500 Kelvin. He needs to be at D65 or 6,500, daylight 65. Okay, so that's it. Once you achieve that, you are done. Now, if we started off this, and I kind of did this like always, we're going to talk about profiling. And I did discuss that I did use a custom profile that I made myself. Now, when you create a profile, you're going to have to print some charts. Somebody will provide you with the files. You open them in an application that's not going to, interfere, introducing their own color management workflow. You need on Macs using Photoshop, I believe there's a tool you can use that will just open up your file and print it without actually going through your Photoshop. The same thing for Windows as well. Or you can use QImage. QImage will have a function that's basically off. So you turn off color management or color matching in your driver. You turn off you off your QImage. It'll just open up that file and print it with no one is interfering. Okay. When you print from your X-Write software, okay, like for that unit over there, you create a chart and you print it, that software does not introduce any color management. You just got to make sure that you turn that off manually, or in the case of Mac, it should turn it off automatically for you. Okay, so what you get is this. This is one of 3. So notice the density. Notice how well this depicted are all of these patches. This is just a set of, I don't know how many, but it's totally 1,600 is what we ask you guys to print. And I provide you with 3 files. So others may have a different file, a different style organization of the color patches, but this is what I give you guys. So you will print this either in QImage or with the Dry Creek tool that I provide a link to. Let me get the name of it. It is called the DCP, Delta Charlie Papa Target Printer. You download that for Windows or Mac and you open it up. You locate your files that you want to print. You send it to the printer. Make sure that the printer driver is set to no color management or no color matching in the case of a Canon printer. And you print it onto a piece of paper. And you will get this. Okay. Notice that? Yes. You will get that. Now, this is what happens when you do something not quite correctly, or when there's a mismatch to such a great extent that it produces this. And I'm going to put this up next to the correct one. So this is chart 1 and this is chart 1. You see a difference, guys and gals? Yeah, this is like 4 times, or where is it at? This is like 4 times darker than it should be, okay? So something is definitely not working correctly. something is definitely not working. Now you would think that, oh, scanning will fix that. No, it will not, because what happens is this. If, for instance, let's go ahead and try to line these up to some sort of something that makes sense. Let me line them up. And besides, yeah, they're not even the correct size. Here's what happened. If you don't use the correct setting and not allow the driver, or not the driver, but if you need to use a tool that's not only going to attempt to alter color through internal color management of its own, but also will not alter the dimensions of your image itself. That scanner expects to see these color patches, a specific size, and a row, a specific length. Otherwise, you're going to have problems. You're going to have errors when you scan, which I did. So this is a job for a customer, and it just simply is not working. Okay, it's not going to work. I want you guys to see the difference between the top row and the bottom row. Look at the difference in density. So when you scan, and also, as I was saying, look at the difference in length. I'll line up the beginning edges, and you can see how much longer this one is. This image was enlarged a little bit during printing. That's a no-no. So that will introduce an error. Now, just like when you send something to the lab to be printed, and it takes days to get there and days to come back, and then you don't like it and you got to go back, and it takes another 2 days to get there and 2 days for them to print it, and 2 days. A lot of time is wasted, okay? This needs to be printed correctly so that they always come out the correct dimension now, and the correct density. Now, there's always going to be discrepancies in what the printer reproduces. Remember, it's getting raw values, yeah, and then it's going to print them with zero color management, so it's not even going to try to correct anything. You want the printer with nobody interfering to print those patches, okay? The software and the scanner is going to read these and say, I scanned this first square right here, whatever that shade is, okay? It's going to look at that, and it's going to say, oh, it's supposed to be this. I'm just going to make a number. It's supposed to be this, but the printer produced that. There's a discrepancy. So it's going to go ahead and measure and figure out the differences between what was sent to it and what the printer produced. And it will do that 200 times a second as you scan across. You got to do it slowly. You scan across, and then you reach over to the white area. So it's going to scan this white paper base, then begins to scan the colors, the patches, and then you end at the opposite white paper base. It's going to calibrate itself 2 times, okay, on the right and on the left, and then it's going to read each one of those colors. Depending on your speed that you go across, it's going to take 200 measurements per second, okay? All of that information is being jotted down somewhere in your computer, and that is then converted into a conversion curve. So the conversions will be, okay, this turned out this way, it should have been that way. So do this in order to, take care of that deviation. Okay, you get it? So take care of that deviation by adjusting this and that. And it will do that all the way across every one of these single, and this is just one sheet, 1,600 patches. Okay? If I show you similar other printouts for other papers, other printers, there's not going to be that much of a difference between what you see. There's going to be some differences, okay? But nothing like day and night. This is day and night, okay? This is incredible. So why did I get an error? Because the deviation is so great, okay? The results are so different that there's no way that the program can write a conversion curve. In other words, a set of adjustments that would actually succeed at removing or neutralizing the massive error in printing that this combination provided. Now, I don't want to tell you what printer it was, I don't want to tell you what paper it was, and I don't want to tell you what inks it was, but everything was mismatched, okay? Basically. Not a good combination, not a good combination to profile. But anyway, that is it. The calibrator can only do so much. It can only do so much. It cannot compensate for a huge, massive error, okay, in rendition of those patches. All right, so keep that in mind. Somebody jokingly said that with a spectrophotometer, you can calibrate, you can make a profile, even if you print with ketchup and mustard and grape jelly. No, you can't. Okay, that was a joke, of course, but no, you can't. You can't. That amount of deviation exceeds the capabilities of that, even this baby right here. And this is one that failed. And I had done 4 other profiles prior to attempting this one. They all came out perfect. So, okay. In fact, the customer that sent me 3 new profiles said that my profiles were better than the OEM ones that he originally was using for those papers. OEM that were produced by other paper manufacturers, because these were like Red River papers. And what else? Anyway, he had others provide him with profiles as well, and mine were better. Don't ask me why. I use 1600 patches, and I do a double scan, meaning I scan from left to right. I'm taking 2 white point measurements, and then I scan from right to left again. So it's a double scanning setup. So you actually scan each patch a total of what? 3,200 times. And again, it's actually reading 200 times a second. So you can imagine how many points it's actually taking measurements from. All right. So that produces a really accurate profile that you can then rely on to give you the best performance that possible printer that you're using and paper and ink combination can produce, unless you get this level of discrepancy. This cannot be helped. Okay, you cannot help that at all. So Ardenberg, the imaging group, has a series of podcasts that you can listen to. Okay, and I did get an email from them. Let me go ahead and open that up. And it's really neat because this walks you through the long hair scientific side of light and light exposure and the way these systems are used when they go ahead and do a test on a paper, on a given paper. Let me make sure that I got the right one open here. Okay. So let me check my email, because I looked at this and I thought, oh, that might be something that I might want to link here to you guys in case you guys want to sit through and read some of this, or not read, but listen to the podcast. So that's pretty cool. And I'll kind of give you a few of the subject matters that are being discussed. Here we go. So I got this email from them in the Ardenberg Imaging Podcast, introducing the Ardenberg Imaging Podcast, blah, 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 blah. And you can just basically, once you go to them like that, you can get all the subjects. Let me let that load, but we have introduction to Ardenberg Imaging to tell you exactly what they do, how prints fade, the meaning of archival, megalux hours, and CDR. I have no idea what CDR is. I'm gonna have to listen to that. Choosing media, the Ardenberg color target, and I guess they go through it. in painful detail, you know. Ardenberg color target and the I asterisk metric. I don't know what that means, but the I asterisk metric means what constitutes the end of life of a photograph, and that the donation model, because they rely on donations from people. If you have if you're an ink manufacturer and you want to have your inks tested, you got to cough up some money for them to do that for you. A lot of ink companies just don't have the nerve to do that because they don't have basically the confidence on their products, if you will. Light induced low intensity staining. Again, wow, some heavy duty stuff there for you guys to listen to. And you can, I guess there are ways to listen to this. Here's one right here. So I guess you just click on that and listen to the audio. Let's get a little bit here. All right, like that. So I will link this. I'm going to do...
Welcome to the Ardenberg Imaging Podcast. I'm Jordan Lewis.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post this link directly here for you guys. How about that? I'm glad that I can post links. I know you guys really cannot, but that'll be something interesting to sit down and read, you know, whenever you wish. I also have a comment that was kind of cute. And I really did enjoy it. And I want to go ahead and read you this. This is an email from someone who basically was just bestowing the wonderful thing that it is to be able to print your own photos. I got to get up close. Hello, Jose. I have been doing a bunch of fine art prints for a limited edition reprints of watercolors. This required a variety of different recipes for greeting cards and for prints. I found myself flipping through the from Lightroom to Illustrator and occasionally Photoshop to obtain the correct dimensions and registration marks. Now that I have perfected those recipes, they are all saved as I print jobs from QImage. See, I told you guys. You don't have to remember any of the settings you used previously. Okay, save it as a job, and it all comes back magically to you. By the way, QImage 2020 coming out soon. Anyway, let's continue. So, now I have perfected those recipes. They are all saved in print jobs in QImage for bulk production. QImage seems like the tool you don't know you need until you need it. Sounds like a commercial. Yeah, but it's not. This is unsolicited. Until you need it in a use case like mine, when you need repeatable outcomes. That's it. People complain about, oh, I'm not getting consistent results. That's because you're not being consistent. Simple as that. Don't take it the wrong way. I'm not being consistent, so I get inconsistent results. Period. You need something that will help you nail down the myriad of settings and adjustments that you may have made. Save it as a job in QImage. Give it a funny name that you can recall at any time. Okay. Assuming you're printing on the same printer, Pro 100, Pro 1000, P800, P whatever. Okay. You can come back today, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2, 3, 4 years from now, assuming our technology is still the same, and repeat those jobs. Of course, things will change. And so, as long as your equipment is the same, as long as your images are saved in the same location as before, you're good to go. You're going to be able to recall those, and it's wonderful to just click on job, and everything pops back up, and you just hit print. All you got to worry about is making sure you have enough paper in the printer and ink. So, Lightroom print module is quirky. It can be. And I am never 100% certain of a predictable outcome because of the interplay between it and the Mac OS printer management. I didn't say that. This is from a Mac user. So don't flame me, okay? Thank you so much for the recommendation. Best money I've ever spent. My Pro 1 has never worked so hard. How about that? Again, it's so simple, folks. That's all you got to do. Consistency. Whether you work on a Mac, that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. Or a Windows machine. It's irrelevant. Consistency, consistency, and more consistency. That's the key. All right. Let's see what else we got. So let's pop up my regular set of topic windows. We're going to do Facebook, see what's on Facebook. And then we'll do, I noticed a bunch of new comments on my YouTube comments section. And I also saw some new things here on the chat. We can continue chit-chatting about these things. Let me go ahead and remove the... Actually, I should just leave it there in case somebody wants to come in late. The announcement, that I always put up about the live stream being up in so many minutes. What do we have? We have 2972 members. We're going to hit that 3,000. I was hoping that would happen this week, but it did not. And YouTube, I believe, is at 25.5 members right now. 25,500-ish members. So we're doing well there as well. Let's see. We got some questions here but then again, I shouldn't have jumped there. Let's go ahead and go to Facebook and give them a chance here first. After calibrating my monitor, Apple 27-inch, this is the person with the problem with the bluish results. Let me see what the last set of answers was. Okay, so he was using, I guess, some internal software built in and not getting good results. He was also using a Spider, I forget where I saw that. Anyway, the Spider unit was not calibrating it at the proper color temperature, obviously, because and somebody linked something here about the Apple iMac 2019 sees a superb color gamut coverage for sRGB, Adobe RGB, and DCI-P3. An article on the iMac. You guys can click on that if you're in the group and want to look at it. And Richard Smith. Now, let me see who the original poster was. It was, Richard Smith. So he said at the end, what I had done was have the night mode on, made the display more yellow. Oh. Okay. After correcting that, the calibration comes out nicely. See, you know what my problem is? Okay. Yeah. Okay, that made my head hurt. My problem is I assume you're not going to do something like that. I have a night mode also on my computer. If I click on it, it will become really a nice warm color. No, we don't need that. We need neutrality. Day and night. Okay, this room, I got the shade open right now to let some of the bit of daylight we have left today. And but normally this room is shut down. Okay, so there is no night mood, there is no day mood. It's editing room mood. Okay, always the same. That is so critical. Bake a cake and temperature is 350. You leave it at 350 every single time. Okay, you don't allow the ambient. Oh, it's hot today, so I'm going to lower it some. Or it's very cold today, I'm going to raise the temperature above 350. No, you leave things consistent. So edit in an area in your house that you can maintain always at the same level of illumination. Okay, simple. If you cannot, then try to edit at certain times of the day and try to create yourself a little environment that is consistent. Okay, that's all I got to say. This is my suggestion. It works for me. Everything I put out of any of my printers matches my monitor. How can Joe do that with 13 printers? And, Fred can't do it with just one. Inconsistency. Okay, simple as that. This is what my channel is about. And I've been talking about this till the cows come home and giving you guys what you need to do to nail down this process. I don't want to sound like I'm chastising, but it can get old. It can get old because, again, that person should not have been using night mode, especially when you're calibrating. That's if you're just using your monitor out of the box. You're looking at websites and videos on YouTube, that kind of thing. Nothing like no real work. Okay, that's a really harsh term to use. No real work. By that I mean, when we edit our images and our images are precious to us, that's real work. When I'm looking at Facebook, that's just a pastime. When I'm looking at YouTube, again, that's not important to me. When I edit, it better be like nailed down, okay? Because I have to rely on what my monitor is displaying to me. So again, that was easily solved, wasn't it? And boy, thank you for telling us. Wow, you waited till the end to tell us. Yeah, just make sure that you don't do these things. And again, I understand. It's just something that you just don't know, especially when you got a monitor with all these fancy little modes on them. Believe me, nobody is even concerned, the very least, about your photo editing. Nobody cares. When they set these monitors up, it's for certain global usages and not for photo editing or video editing. When you're doing video editing, it's just as critical as photo editing. And brightness and neutrality, linearity, everything comes into play as well. All right, we got a Pro 1000 user. Just watch the video. I'm ready to print. I received from B&H 25 sheets of Canon Pro Photo Plus semi-gloss, 350 gram per square meter. Where can I get ICC profiles for that? From your driver. Good Lord. It's a Canon paper, right? Canon paper ICC profiles are already installed in your driver. All right, that was way too silly. Here's a good one. This was, I read this while we were waiting at the restaurant to be served. My wife was mad at me for me playing with the phone, which I understand. That was bad. By the way, people, I forgot to tell you guys that yesterday, actually what's today? No, day before yesterday was her 48th wedding anniversary. They said it would not work. Okay, 100%. You guys won't last a year. We met in the Army. We were both active duty at the time, and we worked in the same hospital. And yeah, it wouldn't work. Anyway, we know better now, right? Okay, I don't know if you guys can see this very clearly, but this is the actual image and this is the result. And the result looks like a lot of heavy mottling of the ink, puddling. Okay, so it's a lot of puddling. This went back and forth until finally somebody said, "Hey, did you print on the wrong side of the paper?" What? How is that possible? Yes. So some papers looks very similar. Okay. Unlike something like this. Okay, when you look at this, the back, this is like a premium luster from Epson. So the back is not as glossy as the front. And you just lick your fingers like this and do this and grab it. Grab tight and let go. Look what finger sticks to it. The surface that you print on. Do that again. It doesn't stick in the back, does it? It sticks in the front. This is your printable surface. If you print in the back, this is coated with plastic. Okay, there's no ink jet coating in the back of this. So it's going to puddle. It's like water beads on an oily surface. Okay? So this is hydrophobic and it will not accept those droplets. Okay, it's going to puddle. So that's what happened there. So make sure that if you get results like that every once in a while, make sure you print it in the correct side. Remember my breathing color, what was it? Something rock, something, whatever it was. Same thing. I tried to do that, and it did not work. It didn't work. Both fingers stuck. If that happens, you got a dual coated surface paper, okay? But again, just remember, if I print on the back, it's going to become completely puddly, okay? Now, go back to this other paper here. Remember that bad chart? This is a weird paper here. Let's see. Do I dare tell you what it is? Let's just say it's made by a big, giant company with a big, giant yellow logo and based in Rochester, New York. Okay. They pioneered photography. You know who I'm talking about. Okay. So this paper is a strange kind of paper. Actually, it's not bad. Okay. But it has some weird, I guess, capabilities. The back is coated with something. Okay. You can feel it. It feels like sandpaper. Notice that it's got watermark. Oh, you saw what it was, right? And the printable side, oh, also it'll always be kind of curled toward the printable side, so you'll be able to tell. Besides, you got watermarks. I'm telling you, it's like having paper that says Canon, 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 Canon. You know very well what side you're supposed to print on. Let's do that test. Nothing. Look at that. The back stuck. The back stuck again. The back stuck. Nothing. Weird, isn't it? It's got what they call a swellable surface. Okay. And it's made of gelatin. If I showed you, I cannot show you very well, but I don't know if you can see that, but there's a huge amount of gloss differential between the area printed and the base paper that did not receive ink. Okay, so this is a printer, a rather old one from Epson, that uses gloss optimizer. You have to guess on your own. So it's an older printer that uses gloss optimizer. And so it's not applying gloss optimizer all the way across. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe, maybe not. So there's this huge amount of gloss differential. This is extremely glossy right here. These papers are not intended to be used on pigment-based printers. Okay? Which is what that printer uses. I'll put it over here. They're intended to be used with dye ink papers. Okay, so there's other papers, all the other older papers. These papers were out when there were no pigment ink printers for us home users to use. Okay, everything was dye based. And so what happens, the good thing about these, there's good and bad. The good thing about these papers is that when ink is applied, creates a pattern of dots, which creates an image. It will cause that coating to swell up. Okay, it's made out of gelatin. So the coating swells literally. The more ink density is laid down, the higher the swelling will be. You look at it sideways and it looks like a 3D map. Okay, that ink partially melts the coating. Not enough to cause it to like spread and wick away and give you a big smudge instead of a sharp result. Not that bad. But it does cause a bit of swelling. The ink, dye ink, not pigment ink, then enters that sort of halfway melted coating and it stays there. And then you let it dry. When it comes out of the printer, you can't be touching it. You let it sit down on a tabletop and you let it dry. It might take a day or two to dry. Once it dries, everything kind of settles back down. You don't have that 3D bas relief type look. And the dye ink molecules are encapsulated inside that basically gelatin coating that is swellable. It swells. When it gets wet, it swells. Okay. When it's dry, it contracts back to a nice flat, and that locks that ink inside that layer, and ozone cannot affect it. Why don't they make papers like that again? Well, they don't. You know why? Because you guys would not want them. You guys don't want them. I don't want them. I want instant dry. I want papers to come out of the prints to come out of the printer, and I can handle them relatively, soon after they come out. Okay. I don't want to wait 3 days, 2 days. If I made 50 prints, imagine. I can't stack them. They'll stick together. So I have to spread them out. Now, the reason they have that weird pebbly back is so that it will sort of prevent sticking if you do happen to stack them. Okay. Very weird paper. But that was the technology way back then. So what's the advantage? Well, they will really work really well with some of the newer third-party dye inks. Precision Color Signature Edition. I printed it on some, basically the same type of paper from HP. Okay. Swellable. Print them on the Pro 100. They're up on my window up front. Still looking pristine. Okay. They've been there for 4 months now. Still looking pristine. Getting sunlight every day. Light. More light than I would ever get anywhere else in my house. That's probably the brightest part of the house. So, what can I tell you? So, yeah. Disadvantages, advantages. Well, one of the pain in the butt to use because you got to wait 2 to 3 days for it to dry. If your environment is humid, forget it. It's never going to dry. Eventually, it'll dry. These prints, I don't recommend you stack them because if it gets ever humid in your home, they'll stick together. But those dye inks that may last only, I don't know, a couple of years under the best conditions in the best air possible, may last 10 years on a swellable type coating paper. RC coated papers like the Pro Luster, this stuff right here. Okay, the surface is microporous. It allows the ink to instantly dry, but it also allows everything else under the sun to enter. Okay, so it's not just light, it's that ozone. That's our enemy when it comes to photo prints. Let's go ahead and look at the chat here because there's a couple more things we're going to talk about here before I head back to Facebook. And then we'll look over the YouTube comments. We are at an hour and almost 40 minutes into this. And I did want to discuss a few things somebody wanted to know about because we got to talking about photos and Eli is here. So he wanted to know about the sensor on the Anafi. And there's a new Anafi out. Yeah. It's not a huge change over the original. Of course, you guys know there's a thermal Anafi. It's a dual camera type system, optical as well as thermal. It's a low resolution thermal. Most of the combinations are a low resolution thermal camera superimposed over the normal resolution optical video that you will shoot if you're searching for somebody lost in the middle of 20 acres of corn. Let's just say, and the corn is 8 feet tall and it's a little child or a dog, whatever. So you're going to need something like that. Anyway, the new Anafi is an improvement over the one that I have, and basically what they did was strengthen the body a little bit because the new thermal Anafi, indeed, that's what they did. So it weighs about, the difference between the two is about maybe 3 grams. So not a huge difference in weight, but a lot more stiffness. Now you might say, well, if I drop something and it's very stiff and brittle, it's going to probably break a lot easier than something that's, say, a little bit more flexible, has a little bit more give. Yes and no, but a lot of people have this fear about something that will flex and will seem flimsy, but in reality may help you. In the case of a drone, if you drop 10 feet from the air into the ground, that extra flexibility of those 4 legs might actually be what saves your drone from disaster. So anyway, I'm going to be looking into this, but the pixel resolution of the sensor is a 21 megapixel sensor. The photographs that you take with it, if you're just up in the air shooting photographs, let me make sure I get this correct. They're not going to be like a 16:9 3:2 ratio. They're going to be more of a 4:3 ratio, like some of the older sensors, some of the older cameras. But it's going to be 5344 by 4016. Okay, Eli will be interested in that. 5344 by 4016. And if you shoot at 16 megapixel, it will be 4608 and 34 by 3456. A little bit smaller. Okay, pixel dimension wise. Okay. The 4K video, of course, 1080p video is 1920 by 480. So when you shoot a 1080p video, you're not even using like half the sensor. Okay, get it? You're using a very small section of the sensor. So when you're shooting even 4K is 3840 by 2160. You're still not using the full sensor. Okay, so that's where you get away with the zoom that's not optical but digital. Okay, because even at the highest quality 4K setting, you're not using the full 21 megapixel sensor. That allows you to digitally zoom into the sensor, and you get the same results you would if it was an optical zoom. Maybe not the same optically, because there will be some changes, some differences in the perspective and such, but you can do these types of those weird Hollywood effects as well. Again, they're all built in, they're automatic. But anyway, that's how it gets away with the fact that it's not really using an optical sensor. It's using a digital sensor, a digital zoom, I mean. Not, what did I say? Yeah, it's not using an optical zoom. It's using a digital zoom. But because 4K video does not use the complete sensor by any means, it can then use the rest of the sensor. Now, when you shoot the 21 megapixel photographs, yes, they will take into account the complete sensor. The sensor is a little bit larger than the Mavic Air sensor. Okay, a little bit bigger than that. So if you wanted to know about that, I'm going to be doing some video in HDR and regular common settings, and we're doing some photographs. I'll just keep things simple and just go to my street, climb up in the air a little bit from the parking lot, so I'm not over anyone's structure, and I'll just look up my street just like I did in that previous video I uploaded earlier. I think I did. And then we'll compare HDR compared to regular standard, and then we'll do some photographs, and then I will bring them in here and blow them up and print them and see what we get. Okay, 21 megapixel should be pretty nice. All right, so that'll take care of that. We're not going to talk about drones at the end of this after all, because we covered it now. So, and again, it's just another camera. It just happens that it can fly. So it's not, it's not that far off the subject. Art is here from West Tennessee. All right. Got another text in Melvin Key from Texas. Let's see who else we got. Wait a minute. Art says, then I'm going to read you this one so you guys can laugh with me as we remove them. Remember to leave the thumbs up for Mr. J for giving us another wonderful discussion about the content and answering our questions. Eric Fanucci says, another useless Mex video. Do you mean that you're calling me Mexican? Like there's anything wrong with being Mexican? I happen to be Puerto Rican, and I happen to be Portuguese and Spanish. So, you know what? Here's what happens to people like that. We remove them because we don't need that. Bye-bye. All right. LX7T. Lots of numbers here. I just started HP Instant Ink. No more paying for ink, only for prints. 15 month are free. Every next 10 for $1. Printer tells you when the ink will be finished and sent automatically on time. Yeah, I've heard about that system. Again, if you're a HP user, and you have a home printer that's like an office type printer, I think that's a good way to go. Not for a serious, photographic printer, but again, that works, and it's a way to make sure that you always have ink available. So, not bad. There's some pros and cons to that, but I've heard of it, and I don't have anything bad to say about it. Third Eye View, I know that's Rob's Photography. Used to be Rob's Photography. Fly later, too hot, 100 degrees. Yeah, just too hot. I'm going to be going up to Pennsylvania to basically a community that is built on a very large golf resort called Penn National. Penn and then National. The whole area is just in the middle of farm country. So I'm taking the Anafi with us on Thursday. We're going to be going up with a friend, visit our friends that moved up there. They've been wanting us to move up there with them, but I like it here too much. Even though it's a terrible place to fly. There's really no place to fly here. But anyway, we're going to be, the ladies are going to go off to some Amish food place. And then Dane and I used to know each other from our church. He used to work for Metro System here, the train system here in DC. And he retired, his wife retired, and they moved up there. It's about 30 miles kind of north, I would say slightly northwest of Gettysburg, our other favorite location. So take the drone up there. There's a bit of there's an airport about 3 miles away, but it's really small with a small tower. I think they get, the occasional Piper Cub landing up and down. We're going to go to some other farm areas and just fly low altitude, no more than 100 feet, and take some shots of the scenery. It's really, really, really pretty up there. And so we'll try to do that, and I'll definitely take the time to shoot some photos in the air, and then we'll have those available for you guys to see. So you know what this thing is capable of, and we'll compare them to, regular photos from a real camera, so to speak. Okay. All right. Art says, when I looked up the list of supported printers at Chipless Solutions, what does it mean when it says NA? It just means that it's not going to be using the wick tool. Okay. The wick tool acts like a go-between your computer and your printer, especially a printer without an LCD screen. P800 has an LCD screen, so that's a little bit different situation, and it requires an installer exe to be able to do that, not the wick tool. So that's the difference. Yeah, it's not that they don't support it, it's that they don't support it with the wick tool. Okay, you're going to use option 2, as I showed you. Yeah, he says, for example, it says NA under WIC exe option and supported under the license exe option. You're going to be using the license exe. Yeah, that's exactly what you got to do. And again, we're going to, don't do this yet. Don't jump at it unless you have, a little bit of nerve and you're not worried. I'm going to ask Precision Color, see if they're willing to do this for us. And we'll see where that takes us. If he succeeds, again, he's a techie guy, so we will not have any problem doing this. I just don't want to go back and have to reinstall everything on my printer. In other words, I got to open up the back, remove all those cables, reinstall the cables that I Yeah, I'm not that kind of person. I don't do that type of thing very well. So we'll let him do it. And but I mean, if anybody insists on doing it and they want to report back, by all means, try. Some of you guys have better skills when it comes to that sort of thing than I do. But I think it'll work. I don't think haven't heard anything from anyone else. The air conditioner finally kicked off. Good. So now I also heard from another person who did it, but they were being a little bit cryptic and they were not giving me, the information that I was trying to get. It was like pulling teeth, and I didn't know why. This guy was very forward in telling me exactly what he experienced and how he did it without any kind of problems at all. All right, Henry Stoffel. Sorry, everyone. I'm late for the party. Out playing miniature golf with my son and his girlfriend who came to visit us in Wells. And that is awesome. No need to apologize. Again, we just barely made it back. I had about half an hour to prepare. So we just barely made it back from our outing with our son and Nathan. And Nathan asked me, Grandpa, when is the next time I get to see you? And I said, buddy, it'll be Monday. We're picking you up from school. Yeah. He loves his grandpa. What can I say? Except he complains, why do you have so many printers? Why do you have so many drones? Why don't you use your money and buy me some trucks? He is very blunt boy. Anyway, I was just congratulated. Our anniversary. Thank you so much, Art. Joe Gefford is here. All right. Hey, nice to have you here. He's a flyer as well, I believe. I have a PA100. Can I use Cone Color Pro K3 Vivid inks? If so, what refillable cartridges do you recommend? I'm excited about using this chipless solution. You can use any of the current refillable cartridges. They are all the same. They have the same chips. They all share the same color codes. Again, nobody saw this coming. Okay. So what I would suggest is use the ones by Cone Color that are actually designed for the PA100. Okay. They have the special black inks, high density inks. You will see the difference. You actually do. And once you do that, again, regardless of chips, if you will, you'll be chipless. So it'll just always report as being full. You'll have full levels. Every time you look, full levels. Every time you look on the LCD screen, full levels. And you just got to manually every once in a while open up that what do you call it? Door cover and check your ink levels. And so you'll be able to take out the cartridge, look at it, pop it back in. Nothing will happen. Okay. It will no longer use the chip as an indicator of level or volume. And, you know what I mean. So hopefully it will work. I just had to have it kind of wake me up again and remind me that this still existed out there. The thing is that I have looked everywhere on YouTube and I haven't seen a single report yet. I've seen it for the P600. Yeah, it works. Inkjetcarts.us did it for the P600. It works. Yeah. So I assume it works as well for the PA100. The P600 can be done with a Wick tool. Okay. The PA100, no. You have to go through the special installer EXE and the LCD screen. And you have to go through that series of setup steps with your buttons, okay, to get it into firmware mode. And then, of course, you're going to enter that serial key. And then once it is all successfully installed, you will get that other code that will allow you to reset it back to chipless if in case you accidentally update the firmware with a real Epson firmware, and then you're back to not being able to print with third-party inks or third-party chips, let's just say. Okay. Charles Verbruggen says, when creating an ICC profile, the printer must be indicated ColorMonkey photo, brackets ColorMonkey photo, which is the most important Pro 9502 series or 9502 series never the XPS, the real driver. The XPS is just a supposed improvement or driver that allows you to print from Windows to 16-bit images, okay? And that will not have anything to do. You will use your regular driver to make your profile with through the ColorMonkey, okay? You're going to choose your printer inside the ColorMonkey software, and then, set your driver settings to no color management, correct paper type, that means surface, and then proceed to print it. And, you're going to choose the surface type, the quality, paper size, of course, which is letter size all the time, and proceed to print your charts and then let them dry, scan them, and so forth. So if you want to make one for the, I would not make one for the other driver. The other driver, all it does is allows you to print in 16-bit. That's it. It has nothing to do with color management. So use your regular driver. Spike597 says, has anyone heard of or used Darktable, an open source Lightroom competitor? Darktable. Hey, why don't we just look that up real quick? Let's have a look-see. I'll open up this one here. Darktable, let's see. Free photo editor. Darktable. Here we go. Huh. I'll give that a try. I haven't. Let's go ahead and install it. Might as well, right? That's what I'm here for, to test. So, Ubuntu, not for Ubuntu, that's open source. I need it for Microsoft Windows. Okay, here we go. And Mac OS is available as well. We're going to save it for now. We'll save it and just let it sit there. We'll go ahead and open it this week, and I'll get back to you guys next week to see what I think about this, okay? Go ahead and minimize that. Let it download. All right, let's see what else we got. Thanks for turning us on to that. I'll give it a try and see if it, if it has enough good features. Maybe we can go ahead and add it to the stable of editors. I hope it's color managed. Anthony Petit says he's heard of it and we'll try it out. Hanska is here. Good morning, all. Joe Gefford says, come up to Fly and see my miniature donkeys next week. I live in Hartford County near Pennsylvania line. I hope that works. Yeah, I've been meaning to get in contact with you, my friend, but man, things are so busy. Jeez. And, of course, I would love to bring Nathan, but, prying Nathan away from their parents is nearly impossible. I can barely get them out for a couple of hours. Yeah. Art says, thanks, Mr. J, for the info. I've also sent Chipless Solutions an email asking them if these firmwares are going to be compatible for Mac OS users because I only see exe firmwares. Yeah. It may not. I don't know. It may not. Don't quote me, but I agree with you since I only saw the exes as well. Spike597 says, Anthony Petit, I just downloaded and installed it. Have not tried it yet. Let me know what you think. All right, so that is the last item on the chat. Let's hop over to Facebook again and see what we got. Okay. Somebody says, I have not been watching. Has Precision Colors gotten the problem where they would not reset the chipsets for the Pro 1000 inks fixed yet? No, it's not fixed. Nobody can fix that. Okay? Nobody can fix that. You need to go with single-use chips or disable ink monitoring. If you're worried about that, because it will literally go blank, okay, then you buy single-use chips. Simple as that. It'll take you quite a while to go through one single-use chip. That's 80 milliliters of ink you got to burn up. Again, print. Don't let it just be wasted on cleaning cycles by not printing. Hint, hint. There's a trick to this. You cannot get away with not having to run these cleaning cycles. Canon printers need cleaning cycles. The more you print, the more you need the cleaning cycle. Okay. I've talked about that way too many times already. You guys already know why. So, yeah, the chips do not work. He lost $10,000, okay, in this little, adventure. The factories don't even care. Single-use chips do work, okay. I'm going to have to write to this guy. Yeah, Ink Owl already just says disable ink monitoring and just stay with your original cartridges. Don't even bother. It's Jose said that. I know the guy. Or use single-use chips. The permanent. I apologize for doing this, but if I don't do it now, I'll forget. Chips will not reset. Okay, done. And people are always shocked that I actually answer. I don't know why people are shocked. Is that a common thing for like a channel owner or a group owner, moderator, to not interact with its members? I don't understand that. I don't understand why people are so shocked that I'm actually answering them. All right. I have to move this winter, and I have a Canon Pro 2000. Ooh, oh boy. Is it going to freeze? Does it need to purge and clean the ink system, or just pull the tanks? It needs to purge the ink system, okay? Because you have to, otherwise it has to travel perfectly flat, okay? Perfectly flat. It has to be handled, moved from one location to the other location, perfectly flat, okay? Normally, when you are sending a Canon printer of that magnitude for servicing or moving it to another location where you know it's going to be tilted, you have to run the emptying, if you will, utility. You better have lots of spare maintenance carts available because you're going to be throwing away about 3 of them full of ink. That is a fact of life. That's because it has those basically vented to the atmosphere internal compartments. There's a need for that. It's a really amazing thing that it can do for you, prevent all sorts of problems by having those internal vented compartments. Okay? So it's not just a mean thing that they did. The idea is when you set it up, that's where it should stay. Think twice about, where you want to situate your printer. You cannot stick it under your arm and go someplace else. All right? You have to then set it up for movement. And not only are you going to use up all of the ink internally, you're going to remove your cartridges, of course, before you do that. And then you're going to need new inks because you're going to have to recharge the whole system. And on a Pro 1000, that is 7 bills, 700. Somebody got mad at me that I said 7 bills. What do you mean, $7? No, dummy, $700. Okay, it's not 7,000, 700. That's usually what we refer to as bills, C notes. Definitely purge before moving. We'll need new maintenance cartridge too. No, you will need like several of them before, and then after the fact, when you recharge the system, you're going to probably fill that new one about halfway. Yeah. All right. Hello, everyone. Does anyone know if there's a replacement aftermarket Canon chip? Are set to a particular color, or are they interchangeable? Oh, man. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. They are not interchangeable. I think I answered that guy already. Chips are specific to the color. Okay. And then we have the person with the monitor that was a little bit yellow. No, blue. I'm sorry. The one that was all blue. All right. So here is something I got to show you this. This is definitely a show to you guys. So P800 apparently. So cannot open the printer cover to replace ink cartridges. I use refillable cartridges for my P800 North America version. VLM cartridge is out of ink. After I printed a 17 by 24 picture, screen shows a VLM cartridge is not recognized, but I cannot open the ink cartridge cover to replace the VLM because when I press any button, include home button, it shows this operation invalid. Oh my God, there's 33 comments. This should be an interesting read for me later on tonight. What makes you think, sir, that you will be able to even exchange that cartridge? You just said you're using refillable cartridges. You just said that you were in a North America version printer. So this is what you get. God, I gotta go back here. I love some of these. This is what you get when the chip has reached empty. Now, the fact that you cannot open it is beyond me. Okay? Because you should be able to open that. Okay? Unless something physically is wrong, you should be able to open that. Now, I'm not going to go through these at this point. I think I answered him already. I see. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm gonna look into this. This is interesting. But this is what you get. Now, normally, if this was working, I just made a quote signs, by the way. If this was working, this right here, let me go back to me. I'm gonna make a face. If that was working, that means that the chip is declared empty. That's why it doesn't recognize it any longer. And on a printer that was not locked, then what you need to do is remove it. And, you can refill it at that point, of course. And then you pop it back in. And just that simple action of interrupting power to the chip resets the chip back to full. That's it. And the printer doesn't care that it's so VLM, same ID code from the same chip, but now it's reading, oh gosh, it was empty before, and now it's what? Full? How can that be? It doesn't care. That's on a printer that is not locked. Okay, get it? So if the printer is locked, it expects to see a different VLM code. Okay, even if you can magically reset it, it will still see the same code. And not only that, it will see it reset as higher than it used to be. Like I said earlier, yeah, I remember it used to be empty and now it's full. That can't be, because I can't accept the same VLM, ID code. That's what the locking of the printer does. So I'm going to look at this because I need to explore that a little bit further. Somebody wrote, a comment here, and I had to let me see. Somebody jumped in. They are so confused. Okay, let me just show you what this is, guys. Okay. So you see this kind of cartridge? You guys have any clue what this is for? You have any clue what our a U2 smart cartridge is for? Have you ever seen those weird new thermal printers that are handheld and you just put a serial code and you go across a box and it prints it for you? That's what that is for. So apparently there's ways to refill these and replace their chips, and this one looks all mangled to me. I said, listen, sorry, my friend. His name is Quan Lee. Obviously from across the world, I think. They're very interesting little printers. It's just for printing a name, a text over a box, over any surface, actually, your arm even. And what was I going to say? Jeez. Anyway, these printers, of course, are not for photo printers, which is what we discuss in this group here. So I very nicely told him, listen, I know what this is for, but I cannot help you because, first of all, I'm not familiar with this, being that it is just a label printer and not a photo printer. Some people jumped in and say, hey, why don't you just get a Pro 100? It's a lot cheaper. What are you talking about? You know, the concept of this printer is to just, this is a box, the top of a box. I put the code of the part number in the part number of whatever's inside the box, or an address, whatever. And it's really pretty much permanently printed onto the box itself. So interesting, new technology out there, and something that I am just not too familiar with, to tell you the truth. Okie doke, let's see what else. Epson original ink cartridges. And we are at 7:12 right now. We'll go ahead and stop around 8 o'clock, and that will not be too much to ask. I think our normal time frame has been about 3 hours. Let's see, Epson original cartridges, and they are showing a bunch of different types of what appear to be large format cartridges. This is basically what I do. These are the large 700 ml cartridges, 2 cyan, 1 yellow, 1 vivid magenta, going to the highest bid. Well, first of all, you should not be placing items for sale in my group. I'm going to let it go this time, but you know, you shouldn't really be doing that. Let's see what else. Just 2 people have been answering. But again, you know, that's a good way to buy ink, and depends on the compatibility. Excuse me. Oh, I didn't get much sleep last night. The compatibility, whether you can actually use these on a, say, a modern printer. I don't even know what number these are. T63. So these are for older K3 printers, 4800 maybe. So not vivid magenta, so that would not work on any of the modern Epson printers. You would have to have an older printer. And magenta from different ink sets is not the same. It's not the same color. They differ. Remember, there are all of the ink sets colors are orchestrated together to work together with the printer, print engine, and of course internal ICC profiles, which is the ones for those particular papers for that printer, and then again other third-party profiles. All of that orchestrates how the inks, existing inks in that ink set, are blended together to give you the correct rendition. You insert a different magenta, you'll throw the whole thing off. Insert a different yellow, you'll throw the whole thing off. Okay, so as long as the printer you're going to be using those, anybody wants to, you know, offer him some money, feel free to do so. I'm going to sort of ask him not to do that, please. But be aware that this will only work on an older, previous vivid magenta type Epson K3 printer, Ultra Chrome K3. It will not work with 3880. It will not work with 2880. It will not work with, P800. It will work. It will not work even with the R3000. So just be aware of that. If you see any kind of sale like that on eBay, be very careful. Make sure that you know what the code of the cartridge number is and what printer that was originally meant for. And then you can compare it with your printer you're trying to refill with OEM at the cheap. Yeah, make sure that it is compatible. It may not be compatible. Cliff Medina is here. He put out a call for people who switch from Precision Colors to Incal. And I believe you're talking about the Pro 1000 here, my friend. So, again, there's some comments there for you guys to look at. I think, both inksets are good. I think Precision Colors is a little bit more expensive because they include an OEM set of 4 colors, I believe. And so there was also a bit more work involved in the blending, custom blending by the lab to fit Mike's, needs, what he wanted to achieve. Whereas Incal is the generic set that I think either InkTech or Image, what is it? Image, I forget now. The ink company from the US that makes inks. It's the generic set that they produce for the Pro 1000 without any kind of blending or making sure that things are tweaked. So that's where you play. That's the difference in money, okay? That you will not see in other inksets. And I believe that I did answer him. No, I didn't. Okay. Is there some tutorial or configuration to print in black and white on the Epson SCP-400? I have tried different ways and papers with your profile. No, not my profile. I never made it. You know why? I don't have a P400. Okay. And I cannot make it black and white. I don't write very well in English. My apologies. He writes very well in English. His name is Ramon Diaz. Not bad. Okay. If you're not bilingual, you try it. Yeah, it's difficult. So anyway. Here's the thing. If you said the P600, then you should not have a problem. But the P400 just doesn't have but just one black, one matte black, and one photo black, and no gray inks. It produces gorgeous color prints. It produces color prints that are probably at the verge of being slightly not so natural looking as what a regular photo printer, like a dedicated photo printer like the P600, 800, that sort of thing with multiple grays. Okay, so can it print a linearly neutral black and white print? Yeah, maybe after some carefully profiling. And I don't know where that guy says that he used my profile, because it's impossible. I don't have a P400. So I couldn't have produced a profile. Maybe it got lost in the translation. Yeah, so anyway, not a good printer for black and white. I have gotten basically the same printer, the R2000, and I did have the R1900 prior to that. So I've used those printers and I have been able to do black and white, but only after profiling. And otherwise, it's just almost impossible to get it linearly neutral. I had a print where literally the shadows were one color temperature, and then the midtones were another, and then the highlights were again another one. So like from warm to cold to warm, that kind of thing. Not good. And once you profiled it, it went away. It became more linear and less noticeable. And Dave Lutz, I'll put out his name because he was very open to that. Jose, just wanted to thank you for the consultation by phone. This was day before yesterday. It was worth its weight in gold. I did not ask him to do this, by the way. You help me solve my problems and move forward. You can find things on the internet, but it sure is a lot more efficient to be able to ask questions from someone with your knowledge base. Wow. You saved me a huge amount of time and money. Thanks again. That's it. $45. 1 hour. I stay longer than 1 hour with you, and we will solve your problems. If we do not, then those problems could not be solved. Believe me. So anyway, let's see if there's anything else. Somebody had a little bit of a banding problem. And again, I told them to stop printing on standard quality if your printhead is not perfectly aligned. Okay. The moment you go to the highest quality, any kind of banding, and I don't even see that really. I see it very vaguely right there. Those problems will go away because you're actually not advancing as much per pass. When your paper is advancing like a ½ inch per pass, then if your head alignment is not correct, you will end up with a gap or an overlap between each head pass. Okay, especially if you're printing bidirectional, meaning that you're laying down ink in this direction and you're laying down ink in this direction. Every time you do that, the paper advances a certain amount, and there's got to be no overlap or no gap, okay, between each pass. And that's controlled by the head alignment. If you have a little bit of an overlap, then you'll get what this person had, which is like, you can see like a very faint bit of overlap. So it'll look like a little set of dark areas. It's not sharp. It'll just be like normal, slightly dark, normal, slightly dark, normal, slightly dark, like that. And so what you need to do, if you have already, like done your head alignment several times, use a higher setting, okay? Sure, it'll be slower. Pro 1000 has normal, high, and highest, even higher. Okay, so there you go. That will make that disappear. Certain papers are more susceptible to that problem as well. By the way, this is San Pellegrino, the Limonata. I love it. So does Nathan. He makes me buy it for him. Being a grandpa is just fabulous, man. Yeah. Okie dokie. Let's see where we're at. I think that may be close to the end here. Spike 597, I believe. Yeah, he just... he just downloaded. Yeah, excuse me, that software. Eli's out flying and doing some hyperlapse while watching. Wow, okay. Multitasker. That's why these young people can do this sort of thing. Wait till I show you all of the functions that the Anafi can do. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Let's jump over to YouTube. We'll see what kind of questions. I haven't even looked at any of these here. I did have some shots of some beautiful cloud formations the other day. It was very, very low light situation. I was using my drone to shoot some video and some slow pans. I could see the moon out. It was kind of a crescent moon. And again, the Bebop 2, I should have used the Anafi in 4K to do this. It has better low light capabilities, of course. The Bebop 2 just cannot handle it. So, but anyway, I did get a few comments. By the way, guys, oh, wait a minute, I gotta come back. This is gonna be a little ranty. A little bit ranty. Yeah. So you may have noticed that I removed probably 90% of my drone videos from my Facebook group because it's really dedicated to photo printing. And, I understand. But I did not have another Facebook group to put it up to, so I may create one just for drones. If you don't like drones, don't become a member, okay? If you don't like printing, don't become a member of my printing Facebook group. Simple. So I will be re-uploading those videos once I create the Joe's, I don't know what I'm going to call it, but it'll be more drone related. I'm more toward videography and photography rather than flying, rather than the technical aspects of drones. It's not going to be for the hobbyist. Okay, in other words, it's not going to be for the person who wants to, open up a drone and dismantle it and then reassemble it and change things, get into the coding and rewrite the code. No. There are other makes for that, like this 3DR Solo. Yeah, completely open source. You can do that with that. It's going to be about photography. The reason I did this is somebody was acting up as a self-imposed drone police. No. You can, off, because I'm not going to put up with that. I know the rules around here. I know what I'm doing, believe me or not. And so don't tell me, how do you guys get away with that in the U.S.? Get away with what? Just because you live in a country that doesn't let you do that doesn't mean that you can then just spout off at me for putting up a video of me flying off of my parking lot and looking up at my street. Okay, you guys are always free to go to my drone playlist in my video channel and look at those if you wish to look at those. If you do not, then don't. Simple as that. So again, I just took it the wrong way and I said, you know what, forget it. I'm just removing everything from the regular print group. I just thought I would add a little bit of variety to what I upload, which is not that often. Maybe 2 or 3 times a week is whatever all I've been doing lately. So, but again, it's getting to be about 50-50. So yeah, I'm going to consider creating a drone Facebook group, but it'll be about photography, not necessarily drones. Of course, I will talk drones, but I'm not a drone repairman, so I will not be able to get into what to do in case of a crash. Well, if I crash it, I replace it. Basically, that's what I'll do. I'm not going to be able to repair like some of the hobbyist level experts out there can do. That's not me. I don't have that level of skill. So I can fly like hell. Okay, I'm a really good flyer now. Okay, and I know how to do things correctly, and I will not do stupid things out there. So don't chastise me because I took off from my parking lot and took some shots off the street. And I flew around making sure I did not go over anybody's houses or anybody's cars. Okay, and I have full control 100% of the time and full confidence and trust on my instrument in my hand and the one up in the air. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's change the subject. Let's look and see what was commented on, because I just noticed I had like 10 new comments here and I hadn't addressed any of them so far. Again, because we've been out of the house all day. I just need to look at the last comment that I actually answered to. See, I'm getting quite a lot of comments on the drone videos, don't get me wrong. So there's a lot of you out there who do this photo printing thing, and it's like closet drone operators. No one has come out in the past to tell me, and now the people are coming out of the closet telling me that they also do both activities. So, I thought, why not combine it in one channel? But, maybe not. I agree with those who have suggested to me that I create something new. But you know what? Creating a new channel in YouTube just for this, when there's so many other channels out there, the same subject matter, and struggling, okay, I don't want to go through that again. So, just forgive me. I will keep a playlist dedicated just to that. You can visit it, you can ignore it, and simple. It'll keep things simple, a lot simpler for me anyway. There's no way that I'm going to manage it. I got 2 other channels, okay, on YouTube. Nothing to do with this kind of stuff. Totally unrelated. And I haven't gone out and told you guys about it because there's really no need, okay? Those who follow those other 2 channels, they know what they are. So, anyway, Okay, gosh, I need to stop. I need to get out of this funk. Okay, so remember I showed you in that, not the last video, but a very recent video about black dye ink. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I actually demonstrated it visually, and you got to see, in fact, black dye ink is just a deep purple color. Okay, and you need yellow ink to help neutralize it. That's why even if you print with like black and white mode or advanced black and white, okay, even on a pigment-based printer, you need the other colors, yellow and magenta mostly, to help neutralize the results. Okay, otherwise you're going to get something that is not neutral, believe me. So yeah, Cliff Medina did mention about the HDR capabilities of the Anafi, and I'm going to go ahead and test that later. We'll stop talking about that. Somebody's very happy with what I've been putting out. Mr. Rodriguez, I find your tutorials indispensable. Thank you. I'm getting a spotty nozzle check on the photo black line on my Epson SureColor P600 printer. All the other lines render a good result on the nozzle check. The PK happens to be an inkjet mold cart. When I ordered it earlier this year, I filled it and primed it. The prints made from it were great. I believe I topped it off several weeks ago. Could the spotty nozzle check be a result of air getting into the line? There is no, well, yeah. The P600 does have an ink line. So this is what I've been talking about. Let me finish here. If there is air in the line, how do I get rid of it? If it is some other problem, what should I do? All the other cards are OEM again. See, that's why I say always. And I know I said that about the Pro 100 and the problems that you can run into if you don't approach that modification process correctly and the refilling process correctly and consistency all the time. You end up with problems with ink flow. This is what's happening here. All the other 8 colors are OEM. Of course, they're not going to have any ink flow problems. But you went ahead and switched over to a third-party, cartridge, refillable cartridge. And I bet you, when you said you had to refill it, did it reach empty? Okay, did it reach empty? And remember I told you that when these chips report a cartridge as empty, very much chances are that the cartridge has been empty already for a bit of time. Because if I'll just pick 30 as the volume of an OEM cartridge, 38 milliliters, that refillable will only be like 26, okay? Even after priming, about 26. So, of course, the chip is still reporting as if it believed it had 30, okay? But in reality, there's only 26. You got a deficit of 4 milliliters. That's quite a bit of ink. So, you might be draining your priming chamber of ink. So when you top it off, it's got air in it, okay? And you may have already introduced air in the ink lines. The only way to flush that out, and you can do lots of cleaning cycles, and it just does not create enough force, enough vacuum, continual vacuum to remove that air. The only thing you can do is an ink recharge, and the only way to do that, really, I believe the Wick tool can do that for you, okay, without any kind of serial code required. Maybe another way to do it is to hunt high and low for a adjustment program for the P600. Okay, remember that code here? Let me see. I think I saw it. on the Word document right here, www.2manuals.com. Okay, these people sometimes have, let me show you this before I do this. These people right here, 2manuals.com. Okay, I'm not going to click on that whole index. I want to just do just the actual URL for the website. Here we go. So you can download the Wick Reset tool. You can buy a reset key. And let's see what they have for the... I think we'll just go ahead and install that, because I don't think I have it installed since I had my computer fixed. So we'll just go ahead and reinstall this, and we'll see. Let's put a desktop, and we'll launch. Okay, we'll close that. We'll close that. Now let's look and see. I don't have a P600, but let me see if it sees any of my printers. Yeah, it's fine. It was asking permission from me. Okie doke. So it's going to detect all the printers that I have installed right now. My R3000 is not installed. That's the closest thing to the P600. But let's go ahead and pick some other printer. Let's go ahead and pick the... We'll close that up. We don't need to look at this. Back to the beginning. Close assistant for this session. So let's pick the 1400, which is an Epson printer. Let's assume that the P600 had... Actually, no. Well, see, the problem is... Oh, here we go. This will work. Unfortunately, the printer is not supported yet. Okay, fine. Well, you would need to have... Yeah, it doesn't have it here either. Some printers with stationary cartridges... We'll have to get out of that. I thought that would work. Some printers with stationary cartridges that means they have ink lines. That means that air can get into those ink lines. And in order to push that out, you have to do the ink recharge. Some of those models that are supported by Wick will allow you to perform a ink recharge free. Otherwise, you have to get the adjustment program. And again, it's kind of a dark web type thing. Okay, you have to look and see where you can find it. Okay, and that will then allow you to have the ability to perform other functionalities besides resetting your ink counters and that sort of thing, your waste ink counters and that sort of thing, which I could do on the 1400 with the Wick tool. I just got to buy a $10 reset key. Well, it will allow you to do other functions, and one of those is to perform an ink recharge. Okay, let me see. I think I have... Oh gosh, I really want to show you guys this, but I don't know if I have this readily available right now. Adjustment program. No, I gotta find my list of adjustment programs. Here we go. So we'll do 3800. Here we go. I hope this works. I just want to demonstrate it. This is what an adjustment program looks like. So you got to run it as an administrator. And here we go. So you will get this, and it will detect my Epson printer sequence, and there's an error. Okay, so exchange ink system, blah, 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 blah. You got to be really careful with this. Okay, so it did not see it. Let's see, individual start. Some reason it's not seeing my printer. Maybe my printer is not even powered on right now. But you're going to look here, is what I'm trying to say is you're going to look here and look for initial ink charge. Here we go, right there. So that's what you would then run. You see that? And that will perform the same thing as you would have performed if you had simply installed the printer from scratch, from the very beginning. Okay, so that is it. So that is the only way. I mean, you would have to run, oh my God, depending on how much error, if that is indeed what's happened, you would have to run a lot of cleaning cycles. And what you need to do is get it through the ink lines. Okay, get that air bubble out of the ink lines. If you have air in the dampers, they have to be flushed out. They have to be vented out. And the only thing is just deep cleanings. Okay, that's the only thing that'll help. Or an ink recharge. So don't ever get yourself in that situation, okay? Because it's a pain in the neck to get out of it, okay? So if you avoid that by making sure, for instance, if you're using refillable cartridges, making sure that you keep your cartridges topped off all the time, okay? All the time. 50% should be the minimum you allow your cartridges to go empty. P800. If you guys want to try that method, and then you're going to go ahead and just buy, here's what you need to do. Okay, here's exactly what you need to do. You're going to need refillable cartridges. So I suggest you do this. You're going to pay a good $90 for these cartridges, $100 maybe. Install them. It will accept them one time. So don't do anything to your printer just yet. Okay, just print. Use your printer happily until you need to reset a chip, or just before you need to reset a chip. In other words, it's at low and it's about to go empty. Then go ahead and do your firmware, your chipless firmware installation, and then you can not have a period where you just can't print any longer. Okay, because once that chip goes empty, that's it. You cannot reset that chip, and therefore you cannot use the printer at all. Your only option would be to remove that cartridge and put an OEM cartridge in its place that has enough, ink level still in the chip to continue printing. Once you reach empty, at least you got one use out of that one cartridge that you paid like $90 for. That's all I can say. It is a pain. Let me see what else we got here. Somebody brand spanking new to photography. Love you. I just started photography and I was just almost giving up. And how come my prints are darker than my monitor? That was the video that they watched. And I guess I must have told them what to avoid. That's good. The same person, where can I buy refillable inks for Canon? Please put a link. I'm so lost. I searched up to 2-ounce Neos ink set. Well, found tattoo inks. Please help. I have no idea what those are. Again, I need to know. Whenever you guys ask me something like this, and it's Big Bone Z, I don't know where you're from. I don't know where you're located. So, of course, I can suggest, Precision Colors to you. This is the ink set that I have the most confidence in. Okay? Had it not lived up to, the levels that I expected, they'd be gone. Okay? I would go to something else. I would probably go back to OEM 100% every printer. That's the only way. There are ways to do that and not spend fortunes. Okay? So yeah, where would I buy refillable cartridges? Yeah, well, you know what? You don't want to use refillable cartridges for the Pixma 100. You do not. You modify your own. So I gotta make sure that I catch this guy before he commits a grave error with his new printer, especially since it's brand new. Seems brand new to this. Okay, we have a young lady, 13 years old. I just want to hug you. Oh, I see. She's being sarcastic. Okay. Sorry, girl. I'll take the hug back. No, I'm kidding. We won't discuss that. I guess once you enable this, you have to make sure that you never accidentally update the printer firmware again. Yes, referring to the video I just uploaded about the chipless solutions for your P800. Obviously. But luckily, and I didn't think this was going to be even offered, they have a way for you to basically fix the mistake of you accidentally, updating your firmware with their actual, Epson release firmware. They allow you to go back. All right, and I think that is about it. Let's see. Oh, here we go. A couple more. Oh, it was just about the clouds that let me just give you a really quick look-see at those clouds. Again, remember, there's a lot of video noise, especially the dark tones, because of the camera is really not meant for this type of work, believe me. But we'll go ahead and just give you a quick look-see. Here, I won't make you wait too long. So that was right in front of my house. I'm just looking straight south. Oh, the volume's too high. And there's the moon right there. You can see it. Had a little bit of a dip. There you go. There's the moon right there. It's getting much darker now. I'm barely able to see. I mean, you can see how dark it is on Connecticut Avenue here. So again, that's not too bad for something like the Bebop. I'm going to try something like this with the Anafi and see what we get. Got a lot of noise over here as well. See that? All right, that's enough. You guys get the drift. So it performed quite nicely. It did capture the look. I had to do a little bit of post-processing to try to take away some of that noise without losing any sharpness. But again, it's only 1080p, so that's to be expected. Let me see what else I have here. This is the so this is the Anafi zoom. So the first portion of the zoom is not lossless because at some point it will use up all of the sensor capacity, and then it begins to continue doing digital zooming, which is of course lossy. It will get a little fuzzy, as you can see right here, but you can still re-stop. You cannot read my sign on the street though. And here it is backing up, and somebody thought that I actually flew over the houses. Of course I did not. I was just simply hovering over my yard, straight smack over my property. But imagine if you are doing a what they call a dolly zoom, that vertigo effect. You can do that very well. In fact, it's an automatic function. I know other drones have that as well. So here's my skeleton on the toilet. We all know how he passed away. Yeah, it took a while for them to find him there, and I think he lost his head a while ago. There's a tombstone right there, and there you go. So this is a great thing to have available. The drone never moved. It just stood there quietly. Let's see. This is the one that I got a lot of grief over it, because they thought I was breaking all sorts of laws. Believe me, I am in an open parking lot. That's where I am standing. And when I went up, I made sure that I was just over the streets and not over any cars. And I was testing the so-called, what do you call it, the geofencing function. I set it exactly at 35 feet high and 35 feet out, I think it was. Then I tried to go past that. No, 55 feet high and 30 feet out. Who is calling me? It's for my wife. So once we reached that limit, the drone stopped. It would not advance any further, and it would not rise any further. So that's what I wanted to test it for accuracy. And I looked at my telemetry on my FPV screen on my phone, and indeed it did stop at 35 feet altitude, which blew me away because I did not think it was going to be even halfway that accurate. Yeah, so how dare I was flying over people's structures, So it will come to about a foot altitude and it'll just stay there, and then you bring it down. So let's do this again. Like I said, this time a little bit higher, a wee bit higher. That's the way my wife talks. I love it. So I picked that up from her. She's not even Irish. She's actually German and Cornish, from Cornwall. This is my house right here. My neighbor, Juliana, I'm always shooting her yard because it's so much prettier than mine. So this is a dead-end street right here. It terminates here in a parking lot. There's some townhomes that you have seen in the past. We'll be doing some bit of flying later on, and this is the gimbal adjustment. This time I set it for 135 feet, and again the geofence stopped it. And now we're just going to do a yaw to the left. We're gonna start looking north. This is straight up north, and this is Connecticut Avenue, which is a very well-known thoroughfare here in the DC area. Goes all the way down to the zoo and our national zoo here in town. This is University Boulevard here. Goes to the University of Maryland. This is a gorgeous dead tree right here that I would love to photograph. So I want to do this and take some shots, some raw files, see what we get. Now this broadcast we're doing here, you will not see it in 4K, I believe. You will not. It'll be more like 1080p or even less. So you're not going to be able to get the effect that I'm getting here, just visualizing it straight onto my monitor. You can almost see every leaf from that tree right there. Almost to the point where it's just way too sharp. And this is not even a 4K monitor. Now on my TV you can get it in all its glory. The only thing what happened was when I uploaded this to YouTube, their processing really screwed this up royally. It is not at all the quality that I see here. So I may go ahead and re-upload it and let it process for like a whole day before I actually make it public. Hope I'm not losing everybody. Please give me a bit of time to just kind of show off what else I do. You can see the little shadow right here of the drone. We're just going to fly around a little bit. And again, I'm not really flying over anybody's houses. I'm making sure that I don't hit those wires. I'm really good about that. These are all phone lines anyway, and cable and that sort of thing. Now in the auto mode, the camera's shutter speed is almost like 1/2000th of a second. So you might see a little frame flutter between the frames. Normally what they recommend is to put a ND, neutral density filter, to be able to block some of the light and slow your shutter down so you get a little bit more shutter blur. You can see the stuttering right there. And also you need a good SD card because the bit rate is 100 megabit per second, so it's pretty high. Now right there I'm almost over some structures, but again, I was being extremely careful. When you look at the drone actually performing this rotation or yaw, it looks a lot faster on video than it does physically when you're staring up at the drone. And I had it, of course, in total line of view. There's my house again right here. This is the little shed that I always take shots of, and I always photograph this house as well. I just like the multi-gable structure of the house. There's my car right here. Here's the now much shorter pear tree, an ornamental pear tree. I had to cut it down because it was so tall, and the root system was a bit damaged because we used to have a problem here, many of the houses did, with gas line problems, and the natural gas permeated my whole lawn. My lawn was black for about 1.5 years. Okay, let's go ahead and move forward a bit. So here I am, and I thought, what should I do next? Well, let's just take one more little loop. There you go. That's what I said, all right. You gotta imagine, I mean, I've been suffering from vertigo the last week or two, and it's slowly going away. There's some treatments that I've been doing. Again, doctors don't even know why that happens, and every treatment they perform on you is different. So I'm just slowly maneuvering it. We're gonna bring it through the sidewalk here like I was walking my pup. You can see the shadow there. It's a very maneuverable little drone and capable of quite a bit of okay, I'm lining up. I told the dog to stop sniffing the sidewalk and just get home. You know, you got to be humorous when you do this really kind of boring flying, you know. But again, it's just a pleasure to be able to do this. I mean, what else would I be doing? Watching TV? I don't think so. Okie doke. All right. I think that's enough. You guys are probably snoozing by now. But I wanted to show you just one more. For those of you who have not seen it yet, I don't think I even have it here. So if I don't have it, then you guys will be spared. Here you go. This is a lot of fun. I'm sure I showed you this one last time, I believe. But this is the amazing thing about the Anafi gimbal system. So I'm gaining a little bit of altitude, and then I just sort of stop. Now it's just I am just hovering now. I'm just tilting the gimbal. In what direction? Up. In fact, all the way up. And not once will you see the propellers, which usually happens even with some DJI drones and a lot of the toy drones. You'll be nothing but seeing propellers over here on the corners. So we're looking straight up. Now, if a big jetliner would go by, that would be awesome. So there's so many functionalities, and after I upgraded the firmwares for both my controller and the the Bebop, I mean not the Bebop, the Anafi itself, and also downloaded the new updated application which now has FPV. They added some more functionality. Some of them are pretty odd, and will take some getting used to. But so far, some of these things are just gimmicks, if you will. I mean, I like to learn how to do things manually. There's the shadow. You can see how the drone is not actually moving at all. It's just looking straight up and then straight down. Complete 180-degree gimbal travel. Isn't that amazing? I saw a comparison between the Mavic 2 Pro, I believe it was, and the Autel Evo, and then the Anafi, and performing all sorts of different, automated functions. In fact, they had an expert flyer that only flew DJI drones and came over, and then he was exposed on video to these 3 drones. I think the Mavic 2 Pro, no, that wasn't what it was. It was an Anafi. It was a Autel Evo. Oh man, now I don't remember the other one. And he put it through his paces, and then he compared them to the closest DJI drone that, either this was better than, or as good as, or just almost as good as. And so, you cannot beat that, because DJI just simply needs a competitor out there. And so, considering the fact that I'm doing this, you see the smoothness of the video with a drone that costs just over $500. And that's not just the drone itself. That's, of course, the controller, battery, and everything. You don't have to buy anything extra. So this is going to get a lot of use from me. I'm going to be doing some very cinematic type shots. Hopefully get to some places where I'll be able to fly freely without any kind of hassles, especially from the armchair drone police. You know who you are. Alrighty, I think that's enough. We'll go ahead and close all of this. And again, if you guys have any more questions, go ahead and post them now, and I will be able to address them. Let me make this chat huge here. We'll see what's available, if anything at all. Look, Poirier says, hi, you're here a little late, Lou. We're about to close shop. Carlos Tizona from Australia is here. He says, do you have any printing tips for a Fuji Xerox DocuPrint? Oh man, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, none at all. I don't even know what that is. That sounds like a laser printer. It doesn't really do any photos, of course, so that's what we specialize in here, photo printers. So I'm sorry. It's just over 3 hours now, so we did well. Anyone have any more questions? Go ahead and post them right now. Yeah, it's a laser, so nothing that I can help you with, because I'm totally stupid when it comes to laser printers. I just know they use something called pigment. That's about it. And they have a fuser and a drum. Other than that, I really don't know anything. And the ones that I used at work were a pain in the neck and needed servicing all the time. All right, so if that is all we have, we'll go ahead and minimize this. Let me go ahead and leave you with a little bit of music. By the way, the next videos that I will be doing, I'm going to try to do another one of those little tidbit type videos where I discuss many little tiny problems in one long video, answer a lot of short questions, similar to those old Friday night chit chats we used to do. I should have kept doing that, but it was very difficult for me to find just, like relevant little questions that I could just answer in a couple of minutes a piece. That way I could do like 10 in 20 minutes or something like that. So hope to be able to do that. I'm going to go ahead and begin my process with that little winner back here. This is well, I have you here. Oh yeah, that sunset video that I just showed you was shot with this. This looks kind of huge here in front here, and look what I've managed to find. These are cute little rubber legs that attach to the base and prevent the hard legs, because this lands relatively hard. It'll come down to a hover and then all of a sudden, and so that's not what the Anafi does. The Anafi is much, much more gentle. I got the guards on. Again, they're very flexible. You can smack those. Nothing will happen. You can come down sideways a little bit. Nothing will happen to the props. Again, of course, a hard landing will destroy anything. So something you got to be aware of, and just keep your eyes out and learn how to fly. That's why I do the walking the dog type trick with my drones. And it seems like, oh gosh, you're doing this again, Jose. Well, practice makes perfect, right? So I walk the dog with my drone. That's what I do. I'll choose an area, and I'll have to make tight turns very slowly, just extremely slowly. I turn down all of the control speeds to minimum. That way I can visualize where I'm going, and I don't turn into a tree, but around the tree trunk. Again, not put anything in danger. The only thing that's in danger is my drone. So I learn how to do this. Even in my little backyard, I do this. I'll walk behind it and I'll maneuver it. And I'll do all sorts of things. I'll go over my head very gradually, and then I turn around instantly. I don't turn around while it's going over my head. So I have at one point I don't see it, but I can see it on my phone. And then I'll quickly turn away, aim the antenna straight at the drone. A lot of these antenna systems are unidirectional, so they have to be aimed at the level where the drone is. The thing about that Bebop, it only has antennas in the rear legs. No, actually the front leg. So no antennas here. No antennas here, only antennas here. You can see them right there, those metal plates right there. Okay. The Anafi has them all 4 legs. So that gives you a little bit more reliability, if you will, when you're flying. So if you have that drone flying away from you and you don't have that controller aimed correctly, the same thing happens with just about any other drone that uses a Wi-Fi connection. The Anafi, on the other hand, has antennas on all 4 legs. Now I'm going to show you real quick here. Bear with me. What the big difference is from this current Anafi, the original one, and the new one. The new one that they're going to, well, they released it as a Anafi thermal, but the Anafi FPV bundle will include that new body. So this is, I'll just put it down a second here. And this is the major fault with this drone. They had to make it very lightweight. Tiny little propellers, almost see-through. But this is deadly silence. I mean, it's like you don't hear it coming at all. It's amazing how silent this is. Antennas, antenna, antenna, and antenna. Supposedly 2.5 kilometers. Okay. So you need to be like at the top of a mountain in Hawaii and straight down the valley, completely free of interference. Here's the problem. You see this? Very wobbly legs. Now, I have not seen any or experienced any kind of problem during flight time. None whatsoever. But the new Anafi Thermal has a totally different leg design. Super stiff. Now, stiffness, is that good or is that bad? If I hit somebody, if I hit something and it just flexes and pops back out, isn't that something you would want? I don't know. I don't know. Will this snap in half if I hit something super hard? First of all, I'm not going to be flying that fast. Absolutely not. That's not me. That's not what I do. Everything's cinematic. Okay, slow and smooth is Joe when it comes to flying. So, do I need to upgrade? Well, if I decide to, I will sell this to some lucky person. But at this point, so far so good. And that seems to be the only upgrade to the new Anafi Thermal and what the Anafi FPV chassis will be like. The chassis will be just like the Anafi Thermal, okay? The difference between this one and the Thermal is like 2 grams. I think the Thermal is about 2 to 3 grams heavier. This leg extends beyond the motor. Those motors are tiny, but it doesn't need that much power. This is light, okay? And I think they made it flexible because they were trying to keep the weight down. Again, because of the small motors and these propellers are like dragonfly wings, okay? And so, but gosh, you don't hear it. You don't hear it at all. And the new one, this leg is right under the motor, and you don't have this. Let me see. Oh, the new legs are see-through, so you will be able to see through it, but it'll be located right here. The motor-to-motor distance is the same on both models, but the leg is a lot stiffer. So I'm looking maybe in a year when it's been out for a while and prices start to kind of become more competitive, then I'll look into upgrading. But as of now, nah. This is good enough. I got some guards. They work beautifully. I flew them in my street with it. And I have some leg extensions, which do not affect at all. They lock securely and do not affect at all the antenna transmission or the receiving of the, because it works both ways, of course. Great little drone. I'll tell you, I cannot say too much more about it. In fact, I'm thinking about getting rid of all my Bebop ones, just basically selling them for hardly anything and making them available to young folks that want to get into this and they want something practically nothing as far as cost goes to get started, to learn how to fly, and again, get started on this wonderful hobby and extremely relaxing. It's just like printing, folks. The effect that you get, and Eli knows about this because he flies a lot, and Joe, he flies a lot, Gefford, and again, many of you guys watching tonight actually do fly around with drones. You know how relaxing it is. Now, it could be exasperating because, of course, you can have some bad experiences, but most of the time, it is a very relaxing thing and just as exhilarating as a beautiful print emerging from your printer. That first look that you get from that print as it is emerging and your heart is pumping and you go like, oh my God, I can't believe I created this with my computer. And here it is now, a real thing, okay? A real image, the one that I shot, that I edited, now on some beautiful paper. And it's coming out of my printer. Magic. Yes, this is magic too. It's a lot of fun. All right, I think that's it. Let's go play some music and we'll say goodnight. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.